we take a deep dive into the upcoming Amendment 4. Rick and Ross get wet. Gordon crimps a ferrule. Someone terminates an RJ45. And we throw rocks at a socket.
Welcome to eFIXX TV, and this week's show is all about Amendment 4 of BS7671. Are these rules electricians can ignore? Well, we're going to see throughout this because they're not out there yet, so therefore they're not a rule. And we're going to see as we unpack this how we can have a say in BS7671's new shiny book. And I'm sure at some point we'll mention the potential colour of that book as well. However, for this live stream, it's all about the comments you can give us to drive us forward. Those comments will be answered by ourselves, but possibly not, because our guest in the green room, who is who, Gordon?
It's Michael Peace from the IET.
And he's waving vigorously at us there, not sitting there all nervously. There he is, waving vigorously at us. He'll be joining us as part of this live stream as well. We're live on Facebook and we're live on YouTube. We thank you if you've joined us live, and those comments are important. But if you're doing it on catch-up, and this might be one of those ones that you definitely want to grab on the second time round, please leave those comments because we do dive it back into them, and as will Michael and the team at the IET. And if there's anything in there also, it might be something that drives it forward moving forward. Are you excited about potential change? Because lots of people in our industry don't like change.
Well, no, everyone. Yeah, change is a necessity, I would say. Yeah, things are moving very fast. As I said, we're seeing so many updates because technology is moving fast and there's things creeping in to electrical installations that, yeah, possibly wouldn't have troubled electricians in the past. And I'd also like to welcome all the members of the data community into the discussion tonight. We know every time we mention data, the data community, always great supporters, always offering really positive feedback. And as we'll find a little bit later on, power over Ethernet merges those two worlds together. A bit of the electrical world going in with Ethernet.
I'm going to start with a quote from the IET because I've watched their live stream twice now. We've put in there the data people. It's like putting the hamster amongst the pigeons. Okay, you watch that IET website, okay, in order to get that quote in there. I've got them in nice and early. Data people are in there. That's a little bit of a worry. Earthing arrangements. Well, we don't want to tamper with them. We're used to probably knowing two. A third one might be a stretch, but a new one. Or is it new? We'll find out as we go through as well, won't we?
We certainly will. And obviously, as ever, if you want to obviously help and affect change and comments on the regulations, I have put a link in the description. There will also be a QR code popping up for people who like to shine the camera at screens and do that. If you're watching on the big telly at home, it did take some tracking down as actually where you get a copy because obviously IET had a link in there, but by the time you actually view it on catch-up, there was a whole lot of other things you can draft for public comment. So I was actually commenting on something to do with roof tiles, thinking I was actually commenting on solar panels.
Okay, and that's open until the 3rd of August. I know
November, Gary.
Did I say November?
No, you said August.
Did I say August?
Yeah, that was like
weeks ago. Right, okay, we'll cut that out. I'll try that one again. I think it's open till about the 3rd of November. Is that right? Okay, so it gets it in just before I turn 50, which is nice to see as well. But we don't want to waffle on without the expert because we need that expert, I think, on this one. But we're going to try and put this in lay person's terms, aren't we? We're going to try and give it so you can understand what they're asking you so you can comment against it. In order to do that, we need Michael Peace from the IET to join us, and in he comes now. So thank you very much, Michael. Here he comes. Got to keep clapping until you get to your chair. Look, now we've got a screen with nothing on. Okay, so is the screen going to come back? Oh, we're back in. So there we go. Thank you for joining us.
No, thank you.
Second time around, which means that some of our audience will already know who you are, but we're still going to give you the luxury of those 60 seconds to explain all about yourself, whether it be personal or career or a touch of both. Tell the people who don't know who you are, which I don't think there's many of them, all about yourself.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I started Michael Peace. I started off as an electrician, become qualified, started up my own company, had enough of that after about 8 years, went to manage somebody else's company, then decided that contracting weren't for me anymore. I wanted to concentrate on volts and amps rather than pounds and pence. So I went into consultancy, I had about 6 years doing consultancy, realised that that weren't my final destination. So I looked for my final destination, and I believe that I'm at it at the IET. So yes, at the IET, I'm the committee manager for Subcommittee A. We deal with primarily inspection and testing, Part 6, Appendix 6 and the model forms. We've recently been given the responsibility of earthing and Chapter 51, so identification. Common rules, Chapter 51. I'm also the committee manager for JPL 18, which is the Ships and Offshore Committee, and I sit on 4 different international maintenance teams too.
Wow.
Yeah, keeping yourself a little bit busy. Yeah?
Very busy, yes.
What's a committee?
Yes.
Suggest there.
Yeah, and again, the rule is at your place you can do anything you want to do, as long as...
The golden rule that my boss has always given me when I've said, can I join this committee, can I join that committee, the only golden rule that I have is you've got to put the work in, you can't just sit on the committee, and do not take on too much work. But unfortunately, I've been very close to breaking that on several times.
Okay. But that's going to help us, because we've done some stuff with you off camera, and you've added some real details to what the presentation you've already done, and it's going to make it really easy for electricians to understand the changes. But lots of people don't tune in for that. Lots of people tune in to us to humiliate them on the race wall, don't they, Gordon?
They do, and obviously, because you've already done the challenge, and I think you are still the fastest person from the IET to take on the challenge.
Yes, not quite the fastest from JPL 64. Mr. Griff Thomas beat me on that.
Well, that's it.
Yes, fastest from the IET, which I'm quite proud of.
That's it, and you know, you've had time as a clean coat as well, so that was pretty good. Yeah. So obviously we thought we have to come up with a different challenge. Now, because we're welcoming tonight our friends from the data community, and as we've been told in lots of videos, we can't do data. Electricians can't do data. Absolutely terrible. Always on there with the advice of things you shouldn't do. But now these two worlds have collided with the advent of power over Ethernet creeping in its own little section within BS7671, as we'll find out. So we thought we'd best test Michael's ability on data. So...
Ooh, OK, so we always like to give a little bit of a whiff of whether you're going to be any good at it. So... have you ever done data before?
Yeah, I've done lots of data when I was an electrician.
Lots of data.
Not, you know, bits as electricians usually do. It comes as part of the main contract you're doing, if you like. But I've not done data in anger in at least 20 years. So.
Oh, OK, right.
That's good. And obviously you can join in as well as you're viewing in there. So it's dead easy tonight. You just have to put the time you think it took Michael to basically terminate an RJ45 connector to a Cat6 cable.
Yes.
Did we have?
Yeah. One end. So what will happen is the cable was already connected, wasn't it, and working. So we had the tester with it working. Then you had to cut the end off, okay, after obviously you started your time, and then remake it and see if it was still correct afterwards. If it wasn't correct, what did you have to do, Michael?
Do it all over again.
You have to do it all over again. OK, so get your time in, and how fast do you think Michael's done this? So I've got a feeling, Gordon, that he may be top of the leaderboard. What's your thinking here? I'm going to sort of be a bit of a spoiler here for everyone.
Yeah, well, yes, it's a new challenge, so he could be top and bottom of the leaderboard. Could be the slowest and fastest.
But if he gets beat next time, he will be second on the leaderboard, which is still a highly placed position, I would suggest.
Yeah, so for those who haven't tuned in, yes, just get your time in there. There's people, so you're obviously the fastest Indian on the challenge wall there. Chris Theobald's already chirped in, and we did a video a while ago where we had to look for people who'd done it before, and obviously we ended up in watching videos a lot from India where there's a lot of call centres. I suspect a lot of people in data, and I can tell you, Chris, it was nowhere near 30 seconds. And our version was about 3 hours by the time we did it.
Let's give some context, because Rick did this challenge, didn't he, when we were at Oldfields trade show, didn't we? And he took well into 6 minutes, didn't he, in order to get this done. So I think that's a healthy benchmark. We've used him on this wall back here, obviously, where people come in and hope to be above Rick. We need to dig out his exact time. Max, he could be the other time on the leaderboard from his Oldfield end. I think that would be a good one. Rick's looking, he's already given me the wink, that's a go. OK, so are we ready? Are the times come pouring in?
Yeah, there's plenty of times in. People think it's going to be pretty fast. Oh. So I think you've hoodwinked people there. Certainly folks that had some experience. It's not a pink cable, we'll see.
No, we're already in on pink, aren't we? Yeah. We'll get back to pink.
Oh, there we go. Someone's hermaphroditic token ring connector. That sounds like someone a token ring network. They were quite old.
Say that again.
Hermaphroditic. Something like that.
It sounds like something you might pick up on the A1 at those specialist shops with no glazing. OK, that's what it sounds like.
I don't know those ones there, guys.
Well, there's a couple. There's one going up and one coming back down when I do the trip. And that sounds like something you might pick up in there. On that note, let's roll the footage and see how quickly we've got to commentate this. Here we go.
Right, let's go.
Yeah, so we're into the
right, so we're just checking the end works.
Looks good. Yeah, all right, we're off and running. So we're out and snipping. We've got to lose the good end.
Yeah, and you've got to put a new end back on. Straight in with the NIPEX.
Okay. We'll cut it twice. I like that. So use the NIPEX and then use the cut. Right. One ring should do it. Yeah, it did. Oh, he's a pro here,
folks. If someone's done this before.
Okay. Now let's see how we do this. So I like to use a screwdriver to drag them through. Oh, centrepiece first. Okay, you went back. Little, nice piece of editing there. And you're going to use a screwdriver technique as well. Open the bottom section out and hopefully drag it through. Is this what you did when all those years ago, 20 years ago? Was this a tip?
Yes, I would have certainly used that method. Yeah, I used a similar method when terminating SY cable too, rather than unplatting it all.
SY?
Yes, I was doing controls.
Revisit that later.
I was doing controls.
Are they mentioning that again, are they? Is that allowed? Right, current carrying capacity of SY not known. Okay, I think the screwdriver's probably a little bit big. I think we work on a thinner, maybe uninsulated one, but that Knipex screwdriver still does the job. And I like it. You're now trying to line them up as you go along. So you've remembered the pattern.
Manually untwisted.
No, I was referring to it, yes.
Yeah, you had a little eye on it, did you,
I
at one
did,
corner?
yeah.
Well, that's good. I like the fact you've done that. So we're untwisting these, so we've got another set to go. Okay, you've left them reasonably long. I think there is a optimum length, not too long. I think you're about there for me. That's what I like. You're trying to get
Chris Theobald's finished his by now.
Yeah, he has. I'd imagine those soft hands are taking a right battering on this heavy-duty cable as well. So,
Biscuits and grapes there, district.
and the last one. Right. So it all can look good to this stage, can't it, Michael? And then we can get it into the end and find we've got them not in the right order. So
or crossed over and...
Yeah, okay.
Right,
did
here we go.
you do a slant on it?
Yes,
slant?
I did,
Yeah,
yes.
I like that little technique. And then the quality tool for crimping.
Yeah, it didn't do it for me, I'll be honest.
Quite done it. Oh,
No.
What happened there?
oh, little haircut.
So, and then I weren't happy with that, so I tried the tool again.
I think it's a strength in your wrists. I think the heaviest thing you lift is a biro. I mean, it's like it's going to cause you. What, are we stuck now? Oh, okay, out we come. So, moment of truth. Right. It's not over yet, folks. It's not over. Oh, it was. Well done. You did it in one. Well done. And you're still checking off. Right. Okay. This means Jenny and a burner phone. So we just need to find out the time, Gordon. It's in the usual place. Okay, so you're going to have to go up and get it. Remember this section, Gordon, where we leave the chair? Okay.
It is. I'm just waiting the comments here. Just
okay,
checking.
well, no one's got anything happening when you're sitting there watching the telly. Okay, so,
Right.
Michael, you confident? Do you think you'll be top?
Yeah, I'm pretty confident, yeah.
Now, to say you're going to be top, not many people are in the top.
Wow.
We can't go here, can we?
No, we can't go. I think we're going to have to crack. Just to revisit Chris's time over here, he did it obviously in, where's he loitering around here? He's there, 6:39, yeah.
So I
Michael,
can't even suggest that, obviously there's a bit of data in EVs. So
I'll tell you what, we'll put the phone there.
It.
We'll put there's the data on there.
Okay,
We'll pretend
so
that's a
we've got
power over
phone
here.
there.
So, Michael, you did that in
What does it start with?
a 2.
Ooh, hang on, 2. If only.
Yeah.
If only you'd been dream territory up here. 2. What's the second number?
2. 9. 2 minutes 29. I mean, that's
pretty good, isn't it?
there
You top
we
of
go.
the leaderboard. Everyone needs to give him a round of applause. Michael Peace, you top of the leaderboard. Get
Quite
in
pleased
there.
with that.
Oh, you should be, yeah. The fastest person to make off an RJ45.
Oh, and we'll put that out there, possibly a little extract for the data installers out there to tell you everything you did wrong. And obviously your life won't be worth living by the end of the week by the time they've let it. Not as bad as the electronic soldering people, but yeah, they're up there. So
Hopefully now someone's being dug out of that list and then we'll have a chance to ring Jenny on the burner phone. And if you are that lucky person, it will be a surprise if it isn't Mr. Oh, who's he going to be? Let's say Mr. Dempsey. It would be a surprise if he doesn't win. So we'll see who wins this prize. We're running out of prizes and Sean's had a load of extra ones. So let's hope it's somebody new to the channel. Maybe a data extra.
Tom Bickerton.
Oh, Tom.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, we love Tom.
Regular viewer.
Yeah, absolutely. Good old
Active
Tom.
across a few channels.
So Tom Bickerton will be ringing hopefully Jenny on the burner phone. And again, just to remind you, Jenny is free at the moment. I know Tom isn't, but we'll just let you know that Jenny is still free. Okay. Right. I think it's time to settle in. Okay. Settle in, settle down. All right. You ready? Yeah.
It is. So let's run just again, as anyone's gone through, just bring my screen in, please, Joe. If anyone needs to comment on the regulations, they're split, the draft's been split into 4 bits because they're quite chunky files. Follow that QR code or the link in the description. Don't start trying now. I mean, you can do, but hopefully we're more entertaining than reading those weighty tomes, should we say.
Is it just the 4? Is there another page to open after that one?
No, it's just those 4. The other way of doing it, if you've not got time to do the QR code, if you just go on Google and type in BSI Standard Development Portal, it'll be the top search and it'll bring you to the page before this. You just type in 7671, don't put BS or anything in front of it, there's no need, and it'll bring you to this page. Now, whilst the document is split into 4 parts, and that's how you comment on it, you can actually download 2 PDF files, so the document's split into 2 as in PDF, and the format is not great in the commenting part, so I would suggest you download the PDF document, you review that, and then submit your comments on here.
Okay.
Right.
Right.
There we go.
But at the moment, probably most of our audience are just hearing myth, legend and rumour. It's the Instagram arms, I would suggest it. I've heard a little bit here, I've heard a little bit there. We were the same after we watched the presentation. We got some things wrong, didn't we? You put us right, just from our interpretation.
Yeah.
Okay, so the QR code's on the screen, and of course we'll move ourselves off in a minute so people can just have that scan. We'll bring it back in again later on. We're going to start somewhere, Gordon. I'm going to allow you to choose the first part we're going to have a look at. What do you want to go for?
We'll get rid of some easy ones first.
Oh, I like it. Oh, you're my kind of man.
Get rid of some easy ones, and we'll start with that old favourite, is battery storage systems.
Okay.
So basically, there is a regulation now covering battery storage systems, and it basically refers everybody to the released as the publicly available standard 63100.
Yeah, but we know, don't we, that, you know, I'm sure Michael's going to hammer this one on home for me. 63100 is obviously only a recommendation, so I can ignore that one, can't I? It's not in there. It's just have a little look at it and we'll be all right.
Yeah, it's. I've heard that said that it's guidance and you don't have to follow guidance, etc., etc. But if this gets accepted, and as at the moment it's just a proposal, if we get enough comments to say that this shouldn't go in, then it probably won't go in. So, but as it stands at the moment, as you can see on the screen, it's a shall. You shall conform with 63100.
Okay, so this is a little bit of your area, Gordon, so I'll put one into it. It's suggested that the best place for your energy storage based on ventilation, windows and doors is outside.
Yes.
So that's now one of the very first considerations you should be doing, is putting your battery outside.
Yeah, the recommended location outside, obviously taking into account there might be doors, windows, ventilation in that area as well, so you have to avoid that.
You do.
And obviously that causes challenge in a lot of installations if you haven't got much real estate outside, should we say. So then other options, detached garage. Well, if you haven't got room on the outside wall, you probably haven't got a detached garage either. So then it's into, if you want to put it inside the house, you have to work a little harder, don't you?
Yes. Yeah.
So once it goes inside the house, we've got to think about our escape routes, haven't we? When we're trying to get out of the building. So under the staircase is no good. Certainly can't put it in the loft, and we've covered that before. So maybe it's the sterile room downstairs that has a basin and toilet in it as an additionality would be good. But there's another piece of kit that's got to be in the same location, isn't there? That's still in there. We've got to have fire detection.
We've got to have fire detection, and we need to have fireproofing on the walls as well.
And ventilation if it's inside as well,
Yes,
haven't you?
yep.
So if it's in a room with no windows or any vented thing, you're going to have a continuous running extractor system, would you suggest?
No, I believe it's an open vent. That's all that's required, yeah.
So your grill for your fan with an open vent would be enough to get it out as well?
Possibly, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, okay. So that's a... Yeah, so you've got a choice.
A plant room that probably used to have a dual life as a toilet with a basin in there, Gary.
Sounds like I'm still in the race. But it's not your first, it shouldn't be your first real consideration, should it? We should be looking at maybe those other two options first. They're probably a little bit better, aren't they, with scaling them up? Because as soon as it's inside, it could compromise the building in the event of a failure.
Yes, yeah.
We're all worried about escaping that building.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not recommended, it shall, and that means you have to do it.
Yes.
Wow, there's a chance for our audience to comment, I would suggest. If you're doing that regularly and you can see it being an absolute pain to you, you've got to come in. But you can't just say, I'm not happy with this and it won't suit me working. You have to do what else when you make your comments? What's a better comment?
It's really important that when you make a comment, if you just put a comment and you don't put any proposal, I'll be honest, it's almost a waste of time, because if you don't make a suggestion of how you would like to see it, the word that will get written next to the comment is noted. So you have to make a proposal. My suggestion would be, if you're going to make a proposal, don't try and sort of invent a new language. If you read the regs book, there's a theme throughout where the wording is sort of common throughout. Try and steal some wording and amend what's already there.
Okay, that makes logical sense. So, grown up, be grown up.
GPT written all over it, really. So, give me regulation comment on this.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Well done, Gordon.
There you go. I'm in there. So.
Yeah, we're in. Are we happy with that one? We see logic behind it being up for discussion, because from where we were when the 18th edition was introduced to where we are now, it's certainly, it's everywhere, isn't it?
Yeah, and obviously I was on LinkedIn even this morning, there was people trying to argue the exact opposite, basically. That, oh yeah, lofts are fine and and you can still do that in X, Y, Z. And hopefully people will share this to that and they can tune in and have the comment. But again, if people want to fit them in lofts, they've got to come up with some great technical reasons why, haven't they?
Definitely,
After it's come into force, though, because that won't be anytime soon. When do we propose, after everyone's had a chat, up until about the 3rd of November, if I remember correctly, not August?
Yeah.
How long after that do you think it'll be in?
It's expected 2026,
Right,
but
okay.
of course, as we've seen with the recent Amendment 3, we didn't expect that to come out, and sometimes these discussions can take longer. It depends. If we get 5,000 comments, we'll be having to work very hard to get it done by 2026. So it's just an expected date.
Okay, okay. So again,
Well,
as
we'll ask the audience,
yeah,
Gary.
we're
Yeah,
just
so
talking about these
let's,
things, just to reiterate, they're not in yet, are they?
No. This is coming down the road, and your chance to say whether you like them or not. And it is now your chance to say whether you like these or not, because we've got a little slider. You basically say in the comments whether you think, and this is the technical language you'd use at the committee level, if you think it's a good change to make to the regulations, or in addition, say accepted. If you think it's terrible, and put in the comments not accepted, and we'll just get a bit of a barometer of what people think about that one.
Just to note that you're now not commenting on the Amendment 4 by just putting your 1 word or 2 words in on that. But we've let a bit of a clanger go there, haven't we? Because we've released the new colour of the book.
Yeah, I did
Sorry
tell
about
you
that.
not to do that,
Sorry.
but I'll have to.
We'll gloss over it. Nobody noticed it. Okay.
It's probably worth pointing out, just with Chapter 57, that that is a document that's come to us internationally that we have to adopt the technical intent on. But if you remember the number on the screen there, it ends in a 200 number, and a 200 number means it's specific to the UK. So whilst we still have to adopt the technical intent of the HD, that bit wasn't in the HD. That's specific to the UK, so there's no reason why that couldn't be deleted if it was felt necessary, appropriate.
And there's a reasonable argument against deleting it.
Yes, and it has to be a good argument, yeah.
And just a quick one for me there. When I think the 18th edition came out, I was at a trade show speaking to technical people, and they were discussing the fact that all new installations and refurbished installations would have to have a earth electrode alongside, obviously, the incoming supply as another source of connection to earth, with no idea what the reading was at the time. They didn't get through. Never saw that again. They just disappeared. Foundation earthing. Do you remember? We did some stuff on foundation. What happened to foundation earthing?
Again, that was in the last DPC. That was one of the first things. So when I joined the IET, we were going through the comments from the 18th edition, and that was one of those. And it was decided by the committee that we're not ready for that yet. The problem is, if you say you think about a new housing estate, let's say it's all going to have foundation earth and you're going to have a really low resistance to earth. If you've got your substation here and an old housing estate here and you get a pen fault, it's going to find the lowest resistance path back to, and you're going to get the same problem on your foundation earthing system. So,
Okay. So again, that was probably brought to attention from the IET or from comments, and it didn't get in. So there's 2 great examples. So none of this is in until it's in.
Definitely.
Okay,
Yeah,
right.
so
Okay.
don't start plotting that way. But I think most people are on the thing that it should be accepted, and putting batteries in lofts isn't a good idea, unless you're one of those installers who was on LinkedIn this morning arguing the opposite. And yeah, so the next one that hopefully isn't too contentious, we delve into the world of EV charging. So let's
Love this.
have a look here. Oh, well, and there's one in the loft just before we go through. If you don't know what a battery looks like in a loft, and they seem to have followed all the regulation, cables properly labelled and stuff like that, but yeah, that battery at the side looks a bit...
We're not arguing this is a poorly installed job. Okay, we're not doing that. But again, we can see the issue there. That battery's probably on top of the chipboard floor. It doesn't look like anything else there.
Yeah.
There was an issue with it. I can't see any detection. I'm sure there must be a detector up there, but again, yeah.
is that gable end wall strong enough to hang that battery on would be my concern.
There you go.
It'll be fine.
Yeah. Anyway, you see a lot of this. But next one up, obviously looking at EV charging, section 722. So this, because it hasn't got a 200 at the end, is this coming internationally? Has this passed down? Or is this what was the 100 at the end?
That's a good question. That is a really good question. So in Part 7s, as you know, we modify or supplement what's in the general parts. If there is nothing in the general part to do with this, it becomes a 100 number, but that's an international number.
Right.
So that will be something that has come in internationally.
Mm-hmm. So basically this one is saying that in the current version of the regulations, that basically the RCDs that are fitted inside electric vehicle charge points aren't recognised in the regulation.
Well, let's unpack that for everyone. That was quick, because we know that. You telling me they've been putting RCDs, say, on printed circuit boards inside EV chargers, and they probably weren't that good or worked well or didn't meet the standards?
No. There is a standard for them.
There is?
Yes.
Okay, but some people have been caught out by that, haven't they? Where
That's
they didn't
separate.
Meet meet the standard.
That's completely... Well, let's
Yep.
step through it.
Come on, let's make sure they know.
Let's step through it. So this one, if you bring it back in, Joe, there is a... so this basically recognises in the wiring regulations that an RCD can be inside a charge point if it's made to that BS, is that an IUC? No, it should be an EN number, is it? Or is it that's a one there, that BS.
It should be BSEN 62955.
Yes, there you go.
Yes.
That's why we have these drafts, so you can spot these things. I spot that one. So 62955 is a standard for inbuilt RCDs within charge points.
Yes, yes. And if you remember, as it is now in the Brown Book, it says that you can have the charger, you can have the RCD internal or external, but it has to conform to one of the RCD standards, 61008, 61009,
yes.
Whereas these electronic RCDs don't. So if this gets approved and goes in, I don't see an issue with providing it conforms to BSEN 62955, because I believe some manufacturers don't. But if we...
Are there some that do?
Yes, definitely.
Right, so there's some that out in the wild that will conform to that if it gets in a couple of years' time.
According to their data sheet, yes, I checked it a couple of weeks ago, and it definitely says it.
And they're big brands as well.
Yes, it is. Yeah,
Okay.
One of the biggest.
Okay, so that's a good one, because we've flip-flopped about that on the news. We've also had it as issues ourselves, haven't we?
Yeah, if I just bring it in, I mean, obviously, last year, yeah, so Zappi, we believe it did have an RCD inside, and then suddenly it vanished.
I don't think it vanished. I think we stopped talking about it.
And then it could be coming back again, and Easy obviously deployed a novel solution, and even though they didn't get through the certification that the Swedish Safety Authority wanted for that, and that caused them a lot of trouble. So, but I think they'd sort of taken a bit of one regulation and a bit of the other, so this wouldn't have got them out of jail on that one.
Okay. It'll be interesting to see how that one unwinds. So all we're saying there is, if we're in favour of this, that obviously we want that to go on, that if it meets that standard, we'd be happy for it to be built into the actual EV charging unit itself.
Yes, and you wouldn't need an RCD upstream, but you do need to bear in mind the protection for the wiring. So if it's buried in a wall or a TT system, of course you'd need an external RCD.
Not necessarily to do with the changes, but to do regs. Do you have the same sort of feeling as me? It doesn't matter if you don't, I won't be offended, that if for some reason I had to have an RCD on the cable with similar characteristics, obviously the one that's built into the actual EV charger, I don't mind, because I've had to RCD the cable because of its route. If in the event there is a fault, it's just inconvenient which one operates.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, there's no danger there whatsoever. We're not looking for selectivity there.
No, absolutely. You couldn't put a Type S RCD on it because that's 100 milliamps. It wouldn't give you the additional protection for the cable buried in a wall, or etc. for the route. So I think that's a good one. So don't worry if you end up having two on it. Okay, if they end up building them in there because you've had to have your one in. But would you be against it? And how do we get to vote here on eFIXX, Gordon?
Well, that's it. If you put in, if you really think that's a good change or a bad change, it's accepted or not accepted, or I don't know if you can be in between or not. So probably needs more looking at. So
I think we need to change that book, because we're going to get in loads of trouble. It's going to be on every slide.
Why's that?
Well, because we've given the colours away.
Oh, what is it? It's a multicoloured book.
Well, you said you weren't going to tell anyone. Right, okay, so interesting to see if that one, I don't say my opinion as in to sway other people's opinion, that'd be great. Yeah, if it's in there, it's in there. Yeah, it's not a problem to me. Gordon, your feeling?
Yeah, I think it's a sensible idea. It gets us back to,
back to perhaps where we thought we were.
Some people will argue the opposite. Some people say, oh no, you should leave the RCD people at our end of the thing and even not have them inside the charger.
But that's where they've got a comment, haven't they?
Yeah, but it's, we shall see. We shall see. Right, closely associated with that, cables.
Keep an eye on the feedback and we'll come back to it.
So there's one here. Several individual amendments have been made to the tables and notes in this appendix, and that's Appendix 4. I'm sure everyone's well aware of it, to cover additions to some cable ratings and correct some identified errors.
Yeah, I think that probably happened, the errors. I think they were rounding errors, actually, where somebody's probably done it manually many, many years ago, and then someone's coming along at a later stage and put it into a spreadsheet and rounded up to so many 5 decimal places or whatever, and it's small errors like that have been picked up.
Yeah, but then there is an addition. There's a new column, isn't there?
There is.
There is a new column, which refers to specifically armoured cables buried directly in the soil, which you would have thought was already in there, but it wasn't, was it? It was cables in a duct within the soil.
Well, it was just buried cables, and the ratings were based on the ducted cables, whereas if you look in the IEC standard, you can get more current out of a cable that's buried direct.
Right.
Okay, so we get this, soak this one in. So before it was a cable in a duct in the ground, And you saying now a cable in the ground with no duct is now got an extra, he's got a new column?
Yeah, so the column that was there before was just for buried cables. That's now for ducted cables. And then
Right.
there's a new column for buried cables.
Right, okay. Because, you know, for me personally, there's an exam question that floats around there on the 8202-30, which is the level 3 one, which asks you to use the resistivity of soil, all kinds of technical things. So now there'll be an extra column.
Yes.
Okay, now, it may have not come quite across like last time I heard that. That's slightly different, maybe the information that's out there in the wild, isn't it? There's a little bit of a tweak there with the columns and the cables, yes?
Yes, there is. I did hear on one webinar a few weeks ago that someone said they think that they've just swapped the columns around. But if you remember, we just had reference method D before,
Right.
whereas now we've got reference method D1 and D2.
Right, okay.
So
You've added another column with another reference method.
Yes.
Now, well, I know what people are going to say, Gordon, before you get your clipboard out, it doesn't really make any difference whether it's in the ground in a duct or if it's in the ground just in the soil, but we've done some calculations, haven't we, Gordon?
We did, yes. So, yeah, Michael delved in there. We had a look. So, first of all, we looked at a 6mm squared cable, 3-core.
Okay.
And in a duct, it would carry maximum 38 amps.
38 in a duct.
Yes.
So with probably...
In a duct, in the ground.
So you're probably thinking of a bit of an EV charging circuit here. You've gone 6mm, yeah, okay,
Yep.
so it takes 38, yes?
Okay, and if it was in soil, it would be 41 amps. So, okay, it's only 3 amps different.
Okay, that's fine.
Yep.
I know what people are going to say, so you've got a little bit, I like that, but that in the old journey. It's going to have to go somewhere else, so you're going to have to take those factors into account as well. So let's imagine it's come down the wall, into the ground, out and up the wall to an EV charger. So we've got the clip direct there as well.
Yes. But, so then we looked at a 4mm, and here's where it can tip over. Yep. So say a 4mm 3-core. Yep.
Yep.
In a duct would be 30 amps.
Okay.
Yep. In soil, it would be 33. So it just gets you over that 32 amp circuit breaker. Not enough for EV chargers because you'd be on a 40 probably because it's on for a long time. But
Scratched in.
yeah, if you were putting a shower at the bottom of your garden, you're just on a 7 kilowatt because you're doing that.
Most people do. The audience are chuffed to bits now. They know where they're going.
You could put.
But is there the reference methods of the clip direct? It could have gone through thermal insulation. So we've got to be careful here.
But if that was clip direct, that would be 33 amps as well. So as I say, we had the discussion off camera. Yeah, obviously it's in the soil. As soon as it pops up above the soil,
Okay, so yeah, okay.
you've still got to take it into the worst case. Obviously, your volt drop and grouping and all those other things still apply. But in certain areas, it could help, couldn't it?
It could, but is there any benefits of oversizing cables? And you've sort of covered that as well a little bit for us, because I think the stuff on energy is sort of evaporated now, isn't it? We were going to try and put that in. Was that the 18th? We were trying to bring a whole new section in, was it?
Yeah, well, it was really meant to be part 8, but the committee decided that BS7671 is a safety publication, not an energy efficiency publication. So we slotted it right at the back in Appendix 17, but it was decided this time round that we shouldn't even be providing that information. We should just be referring out to the law, the building regs, Part L.
Jumping ahead there, Gary. I haven't asked them if people like this change or not.
You should have done that before as well. You've got the feedback on that. What's the one before feedback? Go for that. I'm getting excited now. Come on. What's the feedback? Oh,
We're done. We did that one. We did the inbuilt RCD. We're now on the cables.
No, you haven't done. You only got the feedback off the first one.
No, we didn't.
We did. We did. We'll have to play that back later on.
I'll show you down here. Look.
Yeah, we haven't said what the feedback is.
Well, it was accepted.
Okay, there you go. So you haven't said.
I haven't told you.
Said Eddie.
Oh,
You haven't said that. You haven't said thank you.
I'm moving on.
Noted.
I tell you.
2-0. Yeah.
Oh, I see how this is
I spotted the
playing out
mistakes on the
tonight,
regs.
I'll tell you.
Yeah. Okay, so that's accepted. So,
So people think
so the RCD's in.
RCD's in.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
That's it.
What do people think about having another cable table for just buried in soil? Now, that could be a clay soil or a humic sandy loam.
Well, they exploded it the other time when they did ladder and basket and tray and everything. We went ballistic with a number of reference methods. One side in contact with a thermal, so one more column's not going to, for me personally, ain't going to work.
Not gonna, and
Not for me personally.
in theory, it makes common sense, doesn't it? Soil should be more conductive.
Yes, yeah.
So effectively, it's dragging the heat away.
It's dragging the heat
duct
away.
is holding the heat in.
Yes, yeah.
So do you want to split this column out? Would be the argument. So if people think it's an absolute complete, and they'd have to say why they think it is. If they didn't and nobody comments against that in any way whatsoever or comes up very limp comments, it just goes in, doesn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. If you're feeling there, Gordon, would you think that one would go in?
Joe Hammond's accepted it.
Well, okay.
So there you go.
According to Joe.
Yeah, and he had to dig. He's dug a large cable down his garden, so he's probably thinking he can put a bigger battery in that shed now.
He put a large duck in the back of his van. We never took it.
No, he
back.
put it in the duct, didn't he?
Did he?
Yeah.
I don't think he did.
Did you not?
No, I don't think his trench was deep enough.
Ooh.
It's only a recommendation, 600 mil. Yeah, yeah. It is only a recommendation. I must admit, all those churches, I used to jump on the spade and just wiggle the lights in. You know, it was only recommended. Recommended?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Okay. Right. Meanwhile, back at cable sizes.
Yeah, I'm going
We've just gone 4 to 6.
We've gone 4 to 6. So this is not Joe. Let's just point out that slide on the screen on my computer now. Joe, just bring that screen in. Yeah, so Joe Hammond's trench in his garden doesn't look like that. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. No, it doesn't. No. It was a Saturday afternoon in a very inclement weather. I would suggest it's only just.
Do you think he's just possibly dusted a bit of mulch over the top of it?
Yeah, it's not as deep as you would like.
Right. Okay. We'll have to look at that. I'm going to watch
the doors in there when you dug it in, but never mind.
Anyway,
Joe,
most people think that was a good idea.
But the cable loop on there is nice because all of a sudden we've gone from 4 to 6. But there's been some research that the IET have done to link to the next bit that Craig has done, isn't there? So bring up the next slide, Gordon.
Yeah, so the next one is obviously, yes, as you touched on there, energy efficiency section that was threatened a few years ago is gone, and that energy efficiency lives in the building regulations, and they're being changed all the time. So is it an electrician's job to advise on energy efficiency when most energy efficiency comes out of the equipment we can do with?
Yeah.
However, the bit we do have responsibility over is the size of cables, and this kind of goes against what we've just seen, really, because there's a note sneaked in to this one in part 1 that basically says, let's have a look, that all of the items above basically affect the safety, but the cross-sectional area greater than those required for safety can be desirable for economic operation.
Okay, yeah. So that to me is large installations. You know, you're pulling a very large cable. It's going to be in for a very long amount of time. If you were to pull one size bigger, how quickly could the cost of the cable be actually brought back to you in the cost of the energy saving? But Craig nicely did for one that our audience would like, didn't he? He did the EV charging circuit you described, and he came up with a 4-hour charging cycle, was
Yeah,
it?
he did. I've got to be honest, I pulled him on that to sort of say, I think it would be at least 8. But to be fair, he had done it and shown that you could get a payback on a 4-hour charging cycle in, it was about a year and a half. So I was like, we'll leave it at 4 because it demonstrates the issue even more.
So that was not choosing 4 mil, which was acceptable for that circuit, just upping it to 6 mil.
Yeah.
I don't know what the difference is in cost, but you got your money back within a year and a half if it was only on 4 hours a day.
Yeah.
So if you doubled that through and you're actually 8 hours a day, you're talking
a lot less than a year.
Less than a year, of which then you're saving money. I think that's the toughest thing because people will look at, and this is what we've done before, energy efficiency of a lamp. And we know now, you look at an LED one, it's got E on it. And you think, it doesn't matter because it's an energy. But you're wasting money, aren't you? We've done the calculations before, Gordon. You are quickly throwing money away. The initial cost, and then the consumer pays for it.
Yeah, but again, that depends who's ordering the job. Isn't it? So if I was a new house builder, so they're not well known for splashing the cash around frivolous stuff like additional size cables. Yeah. Obviously, they pay for the upfront cost. The consumer pays for the long-term cost, isn't it? So I guess it comes down to who's ordering the work and who's specifying it. Now, just to add a bit of colour to that as well, I did a little test out here a while ago with a granny cable, which is the one, actually they don't even supply them with cars now, but it's the one you charge your car off a 13-amp plug socket. And I added an extension lead to it because you sometimes walk around and you'll see someone, particularly in block of flats, they've thrown the extension lead out of the top floor window to charge the car. Using an extension lead and you're only charging at 10 amps, I worked out on that one, would cost just the losses in the extension lead about £20 a year.
Wow.
Which, compared to the cost of the energy that goes in the car's nothing, but it's £20 that's
all adds up,
out the window, yeah.
And we're talking about a relatively small load of 32 amps. When you start talking about commercial industrial work, and we're talking about 630 and 800 amp supplies, you can get a big payback very quickly.
But again, across the whole breadth of it, this is something, again, as electricians, I don't think we're just electricians anymore. I think that's gone now, isn't it? That imagine saying to somebody in their quote that, I can do this in whichever installation, whether it be huge and large or small, and say, by upping the cable size by 1/2, initial cost here, payback is 3 years. Yeah. How many people have done that in lighting in the past? I've come into businesses, Sainsbury's, Tesco's will replace all of your old fluorescent light fittings and your payback is 3-5 years. They've just said yes, haven't they? Because they understand the maintenance process and all the rest of it. Proper building design and construction will say that's viable, feasible, and do it, won't they?
Yes, yeah.
Absolutely. So again, for even the smaller electrician, it could be just another little service on those larger power cables you offer. And what a nice calculation to give to somebody and say, you know, you can save that money in that short period of time. Set you aside from somebody else, isn't it? And can make your quote slightly dearer with a payback.
Yes, yeah. It's one thing worth considering when you're talking about increasing the conductor size is the maximum terminal size of the equipment you're working with. Because it's all right you saying I'm going to put a 35mm cable in, but if the maximum terminal size is 16, then you've got to start transitioning the cables. You've got additional labour and material costs, and that all needs factoring into the calculation then. So
just do it, Gary. Just give the cable a haircut.
Yeah.
Trim a few of those strands out.
As long as you do it out the middle cores, because the current's on the outside, skin effect.
Skin effect. Exactly. Yeah, there you go.
I think we said when we did the practice for this that we could have a reducing lug or something like that. There's a good little opening in the market, and now all of a sudden I've taken my side cutters or shears to it and I've got it in. Ah, dear, mate. It's all right if you do it on the green and yellow ones. They don't carry any current. We'll get back to that.
So what do people think? Is that an acceptable change? Let's have a look. Let's bring that. So accept basically to factor in economic considerations, so the cost of energy lost in cables as part of your design process. It'll be interesting to see what people that one. So yeah, I mean, people have said yes, you've got to take into account there's embedded carbon in making cables and transporting them and things like that. And
I think you mentioned it on the IET one about recycled copper compared to brand new copper and all the rest of it. It's a bigger calculation than you...
Oh, it's massive.
Yeah.
It's really complicated, actually.
Yeah, it is. But again, one size cable, still, yeah, it's tough, isn't it? It is a tough one. And we've got to do something. You know, the planet knows we've got to do something. So, okay, we're always going to, you know, there's an argument that an EV car is probably not as good as CO2 and all the rest of it. There's people in America lobbying against that, aren't they? So there's always a second side to every
It's
argument.
interesting. I mean, we've asked our friends at Doncaster Cables what's the proportion of EV Ultra they're selling 6mm versus 4mm.
Yeah,
so we'll wait.
Trying to get that data to us.
Yeah, we'll see what comes back from that. That could be quite interesting. That'll tell you.
From what I've seen, I imagine 4mm will be outselling 6mm.
You think?
I do.
Right.
Okay. Well, we'll find out.
You don't speak to our electrician. We've got Ross on here. He'd never touch a foot. We had this conversation. He uses the 6.
I would.
And even on solar installations. So.
Well, I had the choice on mine, 4 or 6. I said, well, what does it matter? I know you can choose. I'll have the 6 then. It was like, no, I'm not having 4. So I took 6 on one. Right, okay. So we're waiting for those comments to come in, and they started coming in. Gordon,
Yeah, people are not accepted on that one. So people will run, seems to be...
they're going down the size?
Yeah, going down the size.
Okay,
So we're quite happy to bury the cable and push a bit out.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going about this, because I once had a discussion with Northern Power Grid, obviously, the people who...
Are they taking your electricity
How can I
as
help?
well?
You look at, there's obviously, we got all this trouble, 25mm tails and stuff like that. The cable that feeds my house, 16mm aluminium.
Yeah, that's not wrong with that.
So it's kind of,
Yeah, absolutely.
most of the losses, I think, well, the grid uses something like 8 or 9% of losses between the power station, as was in old ones, and get to your house. So, yeah, clearly they do their sums. But someone at Northern Power Grid said the best thing they could have to do to improve their environmental performance would be more copper.
Right.
That was there, because they clearly lose a lot, and as average load goes up and peak load goes up, there's more losses in the system. So
it's probably worth pointing out, I'm sure everybody knows already, but these losses, as we talk about them, it's heat being lost in the ground or wherever.
Yeah.
I2R losses is what it's called.
You did that calculation on that video. Again, so what the audience, let's go for that before we move on. Actually, you'll forget to do it, and I'll have to get Michael to back me up.
Yeah, it's half and half on that one.
Okay.
Yeah,
So that should be one of them that you're looking not to be in, half of you, and looking for it to be in for the rest of you. So can you get it out? How do you get it out? You have to make a comment. You have to make a comment with a feasible argument and something to back it up.
Yes.
Okay. Can't be my customer won't pay for 6 if
But
we
remember,
can use 4.
it's just a note. It's not a shall, should.
No.
It's just a little cheeky little note
It
in there,
is.
just
Still
to
get it out though,
remember
can
to
you?
do your...
Still get it out?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Right, okay, that sounds good. I'm excited. What's the next one, Gordon? We got anything?
well, next up,
Oh dear, that didn't
we're going to
sound
come back. We're going to take a little break first, because we're coming back about some big news on Eddy Currents. Yeah.
good. Have we?
Yeah.
What's Eddie up to? He's on your top.
Yeah.
We've got a little video to play.
We have. Let's just, we've had some feedback from the audience this week. Let's see. It's a new section, but that's after George. We'll come back and talk about Eddy Currents.
It's the sound of.
Right.
Okay. So could they hear that? Yeah. They could hear it. That's fine. That's good. So you can hear the buzzing. Yeah, you can hear the buzzing on that section there. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
So we're going to the Allbro Inbox first, Joe.
That's where you went wrong. Yeah. I was like, he's played the right slide, and you've said the. Let's go for a brand new segment. Okay. Here we go.
Welcome to this week's Allbro Inbox, where we answer some of the tough questions thrown our way on social media, email, and the age-old communication method of the post. Our first question comes from Mikael in Sweden, a regular viewer of the channel who has recently completed his qualifications to become an electrician. He is now looking to move to the UK to spend more time with his partner. While his qualifications are recognised across Europe, he is curious about their acceptance in the UK. Over to Gary for that one.
If you go to gov.uk, you can get your EU qualifications recognised. So that is from the EU, as well as Switzerland, Norway, Iceland and Lithuania. Alternatively, you can, on the internet again, contact NARIC, that's NARIC, which stands for the National Recognised Information Centre for the UK. And if your qualifications there are recognised in the UK, it means then you might have to do some additionalities, like apply for a JIB Gold card. It might be that you have to do the latest edition of BS7671's regulations, and possibly even a course on test and inspection. But both of those websites can help you with your problem.
Cheers for that, Gary. I hope this information is helpful to you, Mikael. Just a reminder to keep those pesky post-Brexit visa requirements in mind. If you need any assistance arranging a quick wedding at the visa office, please let us know. We'll gladly join you at the after party. Now, we received numerous questions about the Weber Dimax dimmer. While we showcase its performance with a single lamp, many viewers were curious about how it handles multiple lamps, particularly those challenging GU10 LED bulbs, or should that be lamp? Let's hand over to the team for our answer.
The dimmer has a maximum load capacity of 150 watts. In this scenario, we have connected 12G U10 LED lamps with a total power of approximately 78 watts. These lamps are from different manufacturers. The lamps can be dimmed smoothly to a low level. You may observe that some lamps are on while others are off. This is due to variations in the internal electronics of the lamps from different manufacturers. If you are dimming LED lamps, it is recommended that they all be from the same manufacturer in order to ensure proper functionality, especially at the low end of the dimming range, which can be easily set on the Theban dimmer.
Thanks for clearing that one up, guys. At the eFIXX studio, it's often said that you're never more than 6 feet away from a ferrule. Recently, ferrules sparked quite a discussion after being highlighted in a short video featuring the new Klauker micro stripper, with some claims that we had used the wrong ferrule size. Let's turn it over to Gordon for clarification on that matter.
The wrong-sized ferrule? What are the chances? Well, here's the plug I made off in that video. Here's the cable. Look at the side of the cable. We can see it's a 5-core, 25mm squared conductor size inside there. Go to our ferrule colour code chart and select the right one. So we're using the German Wiedmuller system here. We try to stick to that. Scroll down the chart, 25mm squared. It's a brown ferrule. It doesn't conflict with any of the other ones in that system. Go to our vast selection of ferrules. Here we go. And it just fits snugly onto the cable. It may have looked a little bit slack because the camera is so close in and the different profiles that can be formed when crimping a ferrule.
That's all, bro, for now. I look forward to hearing next time's comments, which I bet will be tough, but I doubt they'll be tougher than this GRP box.
Wow, we love a new segment, don't we?
We do, and yeah, as I say, we're going to, sort of dealing with some comments we get back on videos a little bit more regularly than we have been.
And we're going to try and do that in video format for some of them as well, aren't we? So
yes.
We're going to comment back in videos to try and point them in the right direction. There's 3 examples. One from a loyal follower here from the live stream. So thank you very much for joining us from Sweden. So that's great. And obviously, as we go, we would be happy to come down to your registrar somewhere near the immigration centre in order to get you in. That sounds great. But we're also a little bit of vandalism in there.
Yeah, you were on holiday. We had a trip out to a quarry to try and destroy a socket. And you probably remember Top Gear, Gary, do you?
I do, yes, yeah. Yes. The Highlander Cruiser or something, was it? Highlander something?
Toyota Hilux.
Hilux, that was it.
The pickup that you saying, this is the Hilux of outdoor sockets.
So we've put this through its paces. It would still work as a socket outlet. But to get it into this condition, we obviously had to torment it in some ways. You got any footage of what the guys got up to?
Well, I was thinking that scene in Monty Python Line of Brian where they have the stoning, the public stoning. I thought we'll just try and recreate a little bit of that. Yeah.
algorithm, please stay with us. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to try and throw objects at a still object. Let's have a look at that. See how good our dart playing team is. So we've got a dartboard here at eFIXX. So here we go. There's a miss. Yeah, it's doing well. I can see it can withstand blows from nothing at the moment. It's also invisible on there, isn't it? That's the problem. They can't actually see where it is. Have we actually hit it yet? Oh, we hit the cable twice. And no.
It's a bullseye.
No, here we go. We're going to do it this time. Come on, boys. Brace yourself. Here we go. Brace yourself. Hello. And settle in, settle down. There we go. Ooh, Rick. Get in there. Oh, wow. Imagine that. Yeah, go out and do a little bit of light vandalism with Rick. No one's getting the winds caved in this week, are they?
Yeah.
Windows
Now, people said about my darts a few weeks ago, yeah? And I was surprised over there. And it was like, wow, we couldn't hit a barn door with a piano.
We couldn't, no, not at all. Not at all. Another one of those famous IET sayings. So, we obviously did hit it many times, and we took it way beyond IK10, didn't we? And it's made of glass reinforced. Are we going polyester or plastic? Because I asked you to.
I thought plastic.
I'm going polyester. So let's go with that in the comments. Find out what GRP stands for. I thought it was going to stand for Gordon Routledge Post with that one, but we dodged that one out, and we've gone with the Allbro
Inbox. And that is made by Allbro. There's a short video coming out of that. Just see how much abuse we managed to give to that socket. That was great fun, actually. I'm looking forward to going back.
Yeah. And again, it's not in that condition because it's a poor socket outlet. It's in that condition because it's an Armageddon of socket outlets, isn't it? So just turn it over so people can see what we did to it. I've got hand cam. I'm going for a wander in a minute, but we put that through its paces. See how it got into that condition with the team. But of course, if we've done some work and we've had a race wall, okay, we must have some recycling, which means that we must put all of our valuable copper into our bin, our green cable bin, so we can recycle it. And when we recycle it, we're in a beautiful position. We get given the cable, and then we get to recycle it. And I've got it here. I'm just going to take my beverage over with me. Okay, and we're going to see what we had to recycle. Remember, we're all in it for the money here at eFIXX. And when I say I'm bringing over my beverage, I'm really bringing over the recycling. So I don't think it's going to take too long to fill up this green cable bin at all. Link is in the description if you want one of these. They're nearly everywhere in the UK. If you aren't in your area and you register interest when they are, obviously, they'll get back to you. So I'm just going to... We're nearly full, okay? We're nearly full. A few more of those and we'll be in the money. Okay, thank you very much, Michael. I'll be dining out on you about the time the 20th edition comes out of the regulations. So, brilliant. So that's in the description there for green cable. So thank you very much for them.
And Sergio Fernandez has spotted the cable in that video when we're stoning the socket was wonky.
It was, unsupported as well.
It was unsupported.
And unconnected to anything the other end.
Yes.
Okay, so thank you for that.
A little bit of trivia. It was the same quarry they used in the Omen 3. So there you go. Okay. That's a little bit of film tour. So we're doing we can do Harry Potter next. We can go to Malham Town.
Yeah,
there you go.
You can tell the scenes where Harry Potter are almost done. Everything looks like a Harry Potter scene.
The National Trust will be delighted when we turn up and fix a socket to the wall and start throwing rocks at it.
Yeah, so giving it a public stoning, as you suggested.
Nice. Right, back onto the topic of regulations and proposed changes to Amendment 4. The next one coming up is, and you had a sneak peek of this, but we'll have another sneak peek at Eddy Currents. Talk us what's going through in this video here, Michael.
So this was, I was doing a survey at a school and I could hear this noise from outside the switch room, and I sort of asked the caretaker to let me in because I was a bit concerned because I knew there was no moving parts in there. And I sort of homed in on that. It was a 800 amp switch fuse that was to a voltage optimizer. And the caretaker said it's done that ever since it's been installed. He said, that's why I've had to install these. And he's cut some nice wooden wedges to go between the building and the unistrut holding it to try and stop the vibration, if you like. But yeah, what's going on there is it's the eddy currents. And what they've done is there's what I'll call a bit of an old-fashioned trick with the eddy current. So if you drill your separate holes, you can put a jigsaw slit through them, and then apparently the magnetic field goes round the one hole rather than, but there's a few issues with that for me. Firstly, if it's a top horizontal surface, you've impaired your IP rating, minimum IP rating IP4X. But what they've done there is they've put them in a triangle shape. So basically that piece of metal that's left in the middle is almost, it's not loose because it's being held by the gland, but the eddy currents are causing it to vibrate.
Yeah, and that was in action. And you've taught that for years, Gary, haven't you?
Yeah, and this is one we had to talk about. So anything that comes up that would have been a college moment, okay, and we've had a off-camera college moment that's going to come in the big future, which would have broke my heart at college, okay. But yeah, so we taught that in order to reduce eddy currents. And there's people out online tried to show that you couldn't really create an eddy current. And you've said now that up to 200 amps, am I right in thinking? You could just put individual conductors through individual holes up to 200 amps into switchgear.
Yeah, into switchgear only. So if it's going into trunking, they still need to be through one hole. Right. But if you're going through switchgear, then up to 200 amps, you can put it through separate holes. And the reason for that is the manufacturers have done a temperature rise test up to 200 amps. Yeah. If it's above 200 amps, you need to speak to the manufacturers to see if they've done the temperature rise test above that. Okay. So it could still be possible above 200 amps. My personal view from what I've experienced in my career, I certainly wouldn't want to be putting them through separate holes above 200 amps.
Separate holes, yeah, okay, fine.
Yeah.
And when you say things like containment, so trunking, it's probably because they don't type test it. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah, which makes sense. So why would they? Because, how many cables would they have to check?
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense. Well, let's have a look at our own installation here, because we've been ferrying around with tails and things just to do. But electrician's eyes, so hopefully if you walk that way, I'll walk this way.
Go around here. Oh, is Rick would account now? This has got some of Rick and Ross's handiwork here.
So explain what's been going on then. So Ross is
so we've had to put in a new switch fuse for our solar installation here. It's not finished yet, so it's still locked off. Now, tails, we've come out of the smart meter through the isolator. We've got some Henley blocks, slightly different to the brand of Henley blocks, Lewden. And yeah, if you shine up there, you'll see our tails.
They go in here to the...
They go in the back of the trunking.
And that's one hole. So they've gone in there.
They've gone in one hole.
But they're considerably not carrying 200 amps, are they? So when we come up to here and we start entering our enclosure here...
No, they don't go that way.
Do they not?
The ones for the solar go down and through that isolator.
Ah, right, okay.
So under this new regulation, we could have just popped in the side or at the bottom with 4, 5 glands.
Yeah, could have done. Yeah, just gone straight on the side. Oh, right, okay. Okay, that shows I wasn't here, doesn't it?
Yeah. However, on this one here, they come into the trunking, then from the trunking into there.
They do. You could drill...
We could have gone into the enclosure, but not through the trunking.
Right, so you could have had 4 or 5 different holes here.
Yeah.
But where we come in the trunking, you only have to have one.
Yeah.
Okay. It's going to be. I think it's going to be one of them tough ones. Just whether it's in or out, okie dokie. We'll find out in a minute whether people want it in. Yeah. But it'll be one of those ones where the more mature electrician's going to say we're still going to do it. You just know it's like it comes in plastic. We're still going to bond it.
Yeah.
You know the people that are out there still saying that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't understand.
That's that could have made our life easier. That regulation.
It's not in yet, so it doesn't count, does it?
No, but it probably gets a lot of those projects you see down at the Instagram arms that are already like that. It's just some people are going to lose that in.
It's good. Maybe John Ward got that one put in because I think he's done some work on that, hasn't he? Just
Ross has said you won't find Eddie in there. We certainly won't. We certainly won't.
Is he in the comments?
You've got Griffin here telling you to relax, Michael.
I'm relaxed.
The most highly strung bloke on the planet.
Relax. Well, we'll best move on to another regulation to see.
We need our people's votes, Gordon. Come on, let's not forget.
Okay, yes. So the people think that yes. Removing the needs for cables to enter through one hole is a good thing or a bad thing? Are you going to stick with what you've always been told by the likes of Gary? Or are you going to would you be doing that consumer unit and putting 3 20mm holes in and bringing your individual cables?
Yeah, again, I see people in a dwelling going to be bringing it into a lovely designed gland that 3 go in side by side and just slide straight into your isolating switch. But again, once we get bigger and bigger and bigger, maybe it is more economical.
And we'll do the price comparison between 3 individual glands. One of those big glands are actually quite expensive.
Yeah, they are. I knew you were going to go there.
So I can.
And then what we could do, we could have
go
a
and
blue
Spellway
one, a brown one, and a green one, can't we? So then so it sort of like flags it up on the side of the actual metal and consumer unit.
Yeah.
Love it.
So we'll
it's
see.
A little bit cheaper.
So most people, that's a definite no on that one. People aren't buying that one.
I'm probably with them, in all honesty.
There we go.
Yeah.
So
that looks like we. But again, if no one says anything, it just sails through, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely sails through. Can you make comment?
Sorry? Yes. Yeah. I can make a comment. I'll be honest.
Can you bat something back you put in?
Yeah. I could.
I've come up with a compelling reason why I didn't want it in now.
Yeah. No. I keep a spreadsheet throughout. Well, I say the year, but the years, and every time I come up with something, I put it on this spreadsheet. And when it comes to this stage now, they're more like notes at this stage. But what I'll do over the next few weeks is I'll tidy up my notes to make them proper comments and proposals, and I'll be submitting them. Yes.
So you could go after colleagues if you think I'll see if I can get one of his kicked.
Yeah.
Competitive, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'll see if I can get that one withdrawn.
I could do. Yeah.
I love it.
But it needs a lot more than one comment to get it withdrawn. It needs a lot of
What if it's only got one comment? Is that not enough? It'd have to be an unbelievably compelling comment then, would it?
Yes, it would, but it could be enough if it is a compelling comment, yes.
Okay. All right, so what I'm saying, can people see the number of comments against each of the parts that are up for debate?
Yes, at the moment they can.
So if you're the first person, that's a bit brave, and you're the first person to comment, maybe you've not quite understood it, that could be a tough place to be.
Yeah, in fact, we probably ought to mention that because a lot of people leave comment until the last minute for a few reasons. One being they don't want other people to read their comments. Right. But the danger of leaving it till the last minute is everybody does it at the last minute and the BSI system breaks down and you probably won't get the chance to submit them at all. So I would suggest getting them in sooner rather than later.
Can I come on stuff that's already in the regs that is not effectively not up for commenting? Yeah,
you can comment on any part of the book, and actually you can comment on any part of the book at any time. You don't have to wait for DPC. If you look at the front matter in BS7671, it says that if there are any ambiguities or problems with interpreting, then contact the secretary. So you can comment on any part of the book, but what we'll be focusing on when we review the comments is we'll be focusing on the changes that we've put in, and perhaps what will happen, depending on the comment, it'll be held over until the next edition and then they'll be incorporated at that stage.
And that's coming fortnight from now, the 19th.
Yes.
Yeah. Right, thank you for that. Thank you for clearing that one up. Where are we going, G-Dog?
Well, that was definitely not accepted. I don't think anyone likes that one at all, because it probably just flies in the face of what they've been told. But you're probably right. It's like bonding the gas and water pipe.
Yeah, it is tough. Change is tough when it's something you've ingrained in.
We'll see what Dave Bellway and Mr. Barrett have to say about it when they're building those homes.
Yeah, so. Axel and Bob. Yeah, here we go again.
Yeah. So next one, staying on the similar thing of...
We're going for gun?
Well, we're going into the world of... your favourite protective conductors, Gary.
Okay, the green and yellow family.
The green and yellow family.
It's not green and yellow anymore.
We have the green and the yellow and the pink. So we've got a new pink brought in. So we already had the functional earth in the last amendment, the one before the last amendment became pink.
Yep.
And now we've introduced this functional bonding conductor.
Yeah, well, this has come out of, we've got a new section. Again, this has come through internationally, section 545, bonding and earthing for ICT systems. So this is where this has come from, and basically the functional earthing bonding conductor, is pink, and if it's a combined protective and functional bonding conductor, it's green and yellow.
Right. I can't wait. When am I going to see a pink conductor? I just can't wait. I'm going to have a photograph. If I ever get that moment, I'll be in there snapping away like a good one. Knowing my luck, it'll be some sort of data cable that I've got wrong from Rainbow Spaghetti. But okay, I've got this. Where am I going to see them?
ICT systems, so primarily data centres, anything to do with computer networking, possibly, depending on the equipment that's installed, but it's more for big data centres.
So I'm envisaging back in the day when they used to bond everything in a school kitchen, you know, the metal table, the metal window, everything was just connected together with that green and yellow conductor. I'm imagining in a data centre loads of metal racking and a pink conductor maybe looping between those. Is that where we're
possibly,
seeing?
Yeah.
Possibly,
yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
I've done all right there.
It depends on the equipment. It really does depend on the equipment.
So we're not going to see a lot of it, are we? It's going to be a rarity.
It is, yeah.
Okay, but now when we see... So shouldn't there is a brand of RCBOs that still hold on to a white fly lead, and they call that a functional earth.
It's not white, Gary. It was cream.
Was it cream? Was it? Oh, right, okay.
It changed from cream to pink. I'll be honest, when I did
But they're still not... They're white.
That's a product, though. We're talking about an installation standard here.
But shouldn't that be pink?
I've not read the product standard, so I couldn't confirm that. But in my mind, yes, it should.
Because it is a functional...
Earthing conductor, yes.
Right, okay, that's fine. No, just thought I'd throw that one in, just so that would have been nice to see them pink. I reckon they'd have sold more if they'd gone over to pink quick. Even though everybody hates them, but we'd love to put pink ones. We put loads in at one installation, didn't we?
Yeah.
Right, where were we?
Now, just a bit of clarification. Yeah, you're probably unlikely to see it in a residential setting.
Oh, definitely.
And I was watching some YouTube videos the other day, and people are getting confused about this functional earth. It's not. A lot of IT equipment has leakage currents that's purposely put in there to help them clean up the noise of the EMC from the switch mode power supply. That's not a functional earth. That's still a safety earth.
Yeah.
So it would be where a functional earth in an IT installation, something like you want to connect the shielding of all those data cables, and we all know it's very essential because those data installers tell us that. when we don't do it.
Yeah.
So it's things like that. So yeah, you're right. Imagine those racks of cables coming in on those immaculately dressed baskets. It's connecting them together.
So nothing to do with natural earth leakage current off equipment that you've just described. Absolutely nothing to do with that. Yeah, that's the popular misconception, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. Well, so really, this is when we don't care, do we?
I'm guessing the first place we're going to see a pink cable is probably going to be Mr. Cranis.
Yeah, he'll have one on his. Once they're available in drums, we'll have one on his. Yeah, he'll wire everything in pink. So again, I think for me personally, I probably couldn't care less if this gets in or not. So if no one comments, it gets in. Just a change in colour in it. Yeah. Okay. So let's see what the audience say.
Yeah. I mean, this is a one. Did you think? Do you want the protective, not the functional bonding conductor in pink? Is that a good? Should that be accepted or not accepted? I don't know what you put alternatively to. What do they do now? I guess. Yeah. What do they use at the minute?
Alphanumerics.
Alphanumerics. There you go. Yeah. But it'll be interesting. So what is it? I think there's not huge. Well, Darren Cranis obviously wants it, and he'll be protectively, functionally bonding everything in his house. Can you functionally bond bed frames and windows? Is that a step back in time for you?
He's got plenty of pink rope and cable in his bedroom, I would suggest, for holding things in place. I would suggest they're in there, okay? I'd imagine, you can't move for pink items. Moving swiftly on. Yeah. Okay, so that gives us that. Okay.
But it'd be good if anyone's actually working in data centres and they do that. It'd be good to see some pictures
would be
of
lovely.
what we're on about here. Because
and even if they're not pink now, to point out where they are now, and then say this would now be, if installed after it's come in and the changes have happened and everything's gone in, if it gets in, these would now be pink. That'd be a great photo. Yeah.
Otherwise, we'll have to make a short video about it, doing some data terminations in Iraq, and then we will get those answers from our friends in the data community, who are always very helpful with the feedback.
Yeah, and nobody likes those feed-through ones because of probably what you did today, where you didn't get all the ends off, did you? And then a few were a little bit longer, weren't they? Yeah.
I'm blaming it on the tools, I'm sorry.
Brand new tools.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, that looks like it's accepted, that one.
Is it?
So people either don't know what it's all about or it's in. So we'll not argue that one. We can't. It's tough to come back with a comment on something if you're not installing it.
I love it when people say Marines or a medical location. I don't do any of that. Get it in. It's all confusing. Okay, so I need a break. Would you like a break? I'd like a little break. I want to see what Rick's been up to.
Oh,
do you want to see what?
Yes, let's see what Rick's been up to.
When you hear Marshall Tufflex, you think of plastic trunking, but wait, there's more. They also have a fantastic range of metal containment. I've been testing their products for a while, pretending to be a cable basket expert, tackling bends and tees like a pro. Seriously, forming the basket is so quick and easy that even your dog could do it, though I wouldn't recommend letting them try. If you want proof on how versatile basket can be, just stroll through the new Terminal 2 at Manchester Airport, but trust me, don't ask to see Gary's holiday photos, they're best left unshared. The final challenge is determining what to do with the leftover basket cut-offs. So far, my best suggestion is to use them to create sky hooks for a tool trolley. I welcome your ideas in the comments. For heavy-duty applications, cable tray is still the king. In our new solar installation, we used a heavy-duty cable tray with a variety of prefabricated bends. Ross still likes to get his hands dirty with the on-site fabrication. We also added some Marshall Tufflex channel for a little Meccano magic to fit a new switch fuse at a distribution board. Cutting it was a breeze compared to the other channels, especially if you have the right tools, like a magic wand. Sorry, made that up. It's easy to cut with the strut slayer. The channel is made to the requirements of BS7671 1988, a classic regulation from the year I was born. Now looking up at the roof, we could have gone with hot dip galvanized tray, but then we found the GRP cable tray and channel in the catalogue. It's perfect for outdoor applications since it's super resistant to sunlight. Not that that's bothered us during this installation. I mean, we're practically in the rain dancing. GRP is the dream to work with because it doesn't need any extra protection when it's cut. Just slice and go. Installing GRP is a piece of cake, except Gordon's suggestions to use glue or tape for fixings were met with serious side eye. Let's check back in a few decades to see if it holds up. To bring your attention to the full range, we've launched a new CPD on metal containment that'll answer all your burning questions like how much weight may the cable tray hold, and knowing the difference between pre-galv and fully galvanized, along with some advice on similar materials. If you're seeking containment solutions for your next project, consider Marshall Tufflex as your one-stop shop. With exceptional technical support, I've got Technical Terry on speed dial. You'll find everything you need.
Anyone like to comment how slimmer Rick is looking nowadays? He is looking a little bit like he's lost a little bit there. He suggests he's not trying to lose anything, but either that or the camera's lying, because it does look like he's on his drizzling way down. Now, we mentioned the Lewden 100 amp connector blocks that we love over there. Okay, I've been down there and spent some time working with the team at Lewden, but they've also got one that helps us out with our new pink problem, haven't they, Gordon? So if we bring that picture in, we can see that on your screen. There it is. I would imagine they'll be selling thousands of these a day, won't they? They'll be just, I mean, you won't be able to make them quick enough to go out the door.
Yeah. So,
when are we ever going to use them, Michael?
If you work in data centres or in ICT, maybe.
We're never going to get our hands on them, are we, really? Normal electricians?
No, probably not, no.
OK, there's no such thing as a normal electrician before we say that. So, OK, so it's great they've got one. It's probably, I don't want to say gimmick, but it's to show that they can make you one. And I know certain people in the industry have already got their hands on them. Okay,
yeah.
So, yeah, again, wouldn't it be great if someone can send us a photograph in at some point when this, is fully in of a pink system? That'll look pretty snazzy, I would suggest.
Now, Rick could possibly, you might have lost a bit of MDF, Gary, going up the roof onto the. If anyone hasn't noticed, we are putting solar on our roof at the minute. That's why that's the inverter behind you there, Gary. And
yeah, just having a look here while you're suggesting that.
No.
This cable here, this one here, hopefully Handcam comes in. I'll try and keep them in here. We've done a bit of, so they can all look super neat. We've got this cable here, but this one is considerably short, and it looks an absolute mess, doesn't it, Gordon, when it's on?
Yeah.
And the only way to solve it is to shorten every single other one that we've made off. The first one, we seem to have ignored the mark we put on it, didn't we? I think you went for a random mark on it, didn't you? So that is not long enough, and it's going to haunt us forever in the background. So please make sure, every time we're on a stream and they are connected, that you mention that Gordon has cut one of those cables a little bit short in a kind of a long way.
Yeah.
That's just behind me there. But they're not connected yet.
No, they're not connected yet. They're ready. They are live, Gary. You've just been dangling, and it's dark though, so you're all right.
I think I'm all right. And I think they're touch-proof as well, so I don't think we need an isolator. Don't go there.
Yeah.
You got any isolators back here?
Yeah, on the inverter, where there should be.
Yeah. So there's no separate ones.
Following insurance industry guidelines to minimise the use of DC isolators.
Because it could cause what?
It could cause lots of fire.
And is it Australia that sort of brought this one forward early on for us? Yeah.
Bring it in. But however, we will explore that in a little bit actually, because we've got. We're going to get back to isolation in a little bit because there's some changes there. But to get on the one we've been dancing around with, PoE. Let's have a look. Ooh. So there's a new section, PoE. So power over Ethernet, which again, so this is where the data world finally joins the electrical world. Although the regulations do apply to data, don't they, in terms of,
cable supports, etc., and even to fibre optic cables, which a lot of people can't understand, and they say, well, there's no safety issue there.
Band 1.
Sorry?
Band 1, aren't they?
Yes.
Fibre optics. Yeah, because I had that when I was teaching. I was like, well, it's only light in it. It's still classed as band 1.
Yeah, and it's really the angle we come at from BS7671 as that is to prevent it from premature collapse. Whether it's got glass in it or copper, it can still entangle.
Okay, yep, that's fine. That makes sense. So, obviously, there's a voltage in there. It's obviously a DC voltage. You can be powering things. Most common things it's like to power, Gordon?
Power, it will be typically, obviously, Wi-Fi access points and CCTV cameras, telephones with officers. A lot of the ones on the desk are powered over PoE. But more recently, actually, there has been lighting systems developed with PoE. And Cisco are a big, about 6 or 7 years ago, there was a big push to try and develop PoE lighting. Didn't really take off, but I think that sort of put the budgie amongst the hamsters. Gary.
Yeah, rabbit amongst the dogs.
Yeah.
So again, when we first joined ourselves together, there was a big thinking that maybe as we're moving towards a fully LED world, that actually could we get away with wiring that in Cat6 cables for the lighting within a dwelling? Obviously, that's dropped off now, but how many volts are in there? We know it's DC.
So the maximum, it's DC, and it's the protection against electric shock is SELV or PELV, and the maximum voltage for dry locations is 60 volts.
Right, okay.
For other locations, it's 15 volts.
What's another location? Dry even?
Anything other than dry. So I'm assuming
outside camera? Well, in this country, it's never dry.
No, and that's the way I'm reading it.
More than 15 volts?
Yes, yep.
Is there a little bit of greyness?
I got to be honest with you, I have looked at this, and what surprises me is to see that. I haven't been part of this work. This is come down internationally again. We've made a few tweaks to it just for our numbering system, but it's as it is. But my concern is if we take 701, locations containing a bath or shower, or 702, swimming pools, if we look at the requirements there, for zone 0, we can have 12 volts AC or 25 volts DC, sorry, 30 volts DC, or in zone 1, we can have 25 volts AC or 60 volts DC. So why is it with PoE we can only have 15? So it's something that I'm certainly going to look into myself and probably make a comment on.
Okay, and again, so yeah, that needs, because if that came in, you could find you can't power your outdoor camera because 15 volts ain't going to get you there, is it? Right. Okay.
So I mean, that's normally got a whiff for this stuff has come from the US, yeah, because.
Your own sayings, eh? Your own sayings. Yeah, go on and go with your whiff.
I mean, PoE, for people who haven't dabbled in it, obviously, in a typical data cable, only a few of the cores these days are actually used for data, unless it's a really high bandwidth cable. So they basically pair off a couple of pairs, one for your plus and minus connection to do the powering, which when this first came in, I was a bit like, well, I've never seen like those connectors don't really have current ratings for them because they traditionally haven't carried current. And then, you know, suddenly, I mean, some of the number, I mean, it was, you think 60 watts going into a light fitting over a PoE cable.
Well, even if you look at PoE++, they even got to 100 watts now.
Yeah, which is, you know, you think those little data cables aren't very thick, you know. We tried to bring in 0.5 millimetre squared cable a few years ago, Gary, and there was an outrage over it.
Caused one institution, yeah. Well, we can't call them institution anymore. Real problem, isn't it? Oh dear. We'll never have them on, will we? Oh, they'll never talk to us again. They didn't nearly talk to us for a while. Hence, I am wearing a wig. Yeah, we gave a little bit of a whiff on what wearing a wig this week. We decided better against it.
We did. We did.
We both did, didn't we? So, okay. So interesting that one, isn't it? Because I'd love to see it, you know, in and doing it, but you've already expressed there's an issue there. Again,
I'll just show you that. I mean, what it looked like. I had a look at some of these earlier. Basically, you'd go to an office. I've seen some of the trial offices that had PoE lighting in, and basically you had a massive, essentially where you'd normally see a data rack with switches.
Yes.
You'd have lighting plugged into something just like that. And obviously this brings the data people into our world,
right,
where current carrying capacity, grouping factors, voltage drop starts to play a big effect.
So where I've seen online where they've taken all those Cat6 cables in a massive bunch and have made them all look gorgeous as they come around everywhere, and Velcro, tell me you've got to use Velcro ties. Could be a lot of heat in there if you're in the one in the middle, could you?
Yes.
Could be struggling.
Yeah.
Is that going to affect anything other than the current carrying capacity? Could it affect the data as well, maybe?
Yes. So in 716, there's a signpost, if you like, to a TR, a technical report, which is something that precedes a standard, requires less consensus, and the number of that from memory is 50174, and that talks about the current carrying capacity of conductors. Because, like you say, if you've got a bunch of 100 data cables, if you're only running PoE down one of those cables, it'll have probably a minimal effect. But if you're running 50 of those PoE and the other 50 are data, then the heat can affect the attenuation losses on the data cables. So
all those smart homes and Control 4 and all the rest of it, that's what they're doing, aren't they?
Yeah, but they're not that data, you know, they're not that
I
data
know, but
hungry,
again,
but
I've seen them bunched.
together. No,
I'm worried about, you know, it all looked great at one point. We even called it something back in the day, but yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, personally, I think PoE has been operating outside of electrical regulations. So I think that's why this has come in, because I think, yeah.
It hasn't come in.
No, it's come down from international. It's coming in, isn't it? It's
yes, this is a harmonised document, right, so we have to adopt the technical intent. So we can make
PoE's coming home.
It's coming home, yes. That famous saying.
Yeah. So here's one. So obviously for the audience here, yeah. Do we accept it?
Well, you've just told me you have to. So
yeah.
you only can
make
tweaks.
No, it's the audience whether they'd like to accept it or would they be commenting not to accept. And my recommendation would be to accept it. The more regulations, data people have to worry about stops them picking holes in our videos when we do a little bit of data. We can fight back. This is the start of the good fight, Gary.
No.
We'll be there. You need to think. I'm going to be going on a date of people's videos. Going, have you considered your grouping factor there?
Yeah, I'd like to give you a
What's
little
your
lesson.
volt drop on that cable?
Absolutely. Yeah. You might start without many volts, but how long's your cable?
Yeah.
Is it getting all there?
This is the start of the fight back, so I think we should accept it.
Again, you haven't got to listen to G Routledge. Okay, you make your own decision. We'll wait for those comments to come in, and we'll give a little a nod. I can't use whiff now; it's already gone. I'll give a nod to where we're going next. Where are we going next?
Yeah, well, it's people accepting with tweaks. Tweaks sound like comments.
Yeah, you got to. Yeah, you can't just tweak it.
I don't think you can not accept the POE. It's coming, but more regulations for data installs. Wow, that's what we're liking it.
One thing I would like to see, and I have to say that BS7671 are rules and regulations, I say not rules, it's not a guidance document, but as I said, that technical report that we refer out to, I would like to see some of that put in somewhere so that electricians don't have to go and buy that other technical report, certainly with the current carrying capacity.
Yeah.
Just what you're saying there, buy that. Why don't we just, like lots of things, just make the book digital?
It's certainly something that does get discussed every now and again.
Is it because of those exams where people be struggling to say, well, could have an iPad given by the provider of the training that only has access to it?
Yeah, no, that's one reason, but I'll be honest, I think the main reason is, and myself included, I do use the digital books, but I also like to use the real books too.
You're an exception. You've got my shelf in the right order.
Yeah, I know.
You have got my shelf in the right order. So I'm just thinking, we digitalise most things, don't we? So imagine saying to everyone, the new regs book's out, on-site guide, download $4.99. There you go, we're all good, because you're non-profit, so you laugh really quickly there, really quickly. So get rid of the paper. Or you can buy the paper one, make it a little bit dearer, so like 150 quid each, and then you could own them, and then everybody else can have $4.99.
Yes.
You laughed again quickly. Yeah. That one ain't coming in. I'll try though. If you want the book for $4.99 on download, yeah, we're in.
Yeah.
Right, okay, where are we going?
POE's half and half. Half and half.
Yeah.
Yep, half and half. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
I think a lot of people are,
Can you tweak it?
Obviously, a few secret data installers in there trying to fight against it. Craig Gifford's in there.
Is he? I like Craig.
Dabble in a bit of telecoms, didn't he?
He did, yeah, he did, and he's done a smart home course as well.
Now he's on the dark side.
Yeah, he's on our side. Yeah,
Yep.
sorry. Yeah.
Or as we call him, secret millionaire. We haven't heard that for a while, have we?
No, we haven't heard Secret Millionaire for a while. Well, thank you for coming in, Craig, and I hope everything's going well your end. Are we going to move into wet world now?
We are, obviously. We've touched outside with POE. The next one, if we bring in. So some changes. So hot tubs basically are now swimming pools.
Yeah, with hot tubs, in the international world, they actually call them whirlpool spas. This is just what we call them in the UK.
Whirlpool spas, that sounds more expensive than a hot tub to me.
The difference between a whirlpool spa and a whirlpool bath, just in case any of you
1,500
don't
quid
know.
by the sounds of it.
No, the actual IEC definition is one gets emptied after each use and one doesn't.
Which one gets emptied?
Hopefully the bath.
Oh, yeah, okay, I can say, yeah, whirlpool bath.
Yes.
Yeah.
So-
Makes sense. Yeah. Right,
So with the slide on the screen, I must point out that we've probably ought to start at the pools for religious or ceremonial purposes, because that is part of the scope. So that is definitely proposed to be part of 702, whereas hot tubs, the wording is 702 may be applied for hot tubs. So it's not a absolute shall, it's a maybe. So it's down to your discretion to whether you should use it or not.
Now, I believe the religious pools, Eddy Clemens was quite a driver behind that, because he does some work in religious establishments where there are pools that are used for ceremonial purposes sometimes.
hats off to him. So well done for getting that one in. So that one's in.
Yep.
So I'm worried now. I've got a friend. I'll do that one because I've got a friend who's got a caravan, was brilliant. So I've got a friend who used to have what we call them hot tub. Okay, one of these inflatable ones.
A whirlpool spa.
Lazy spa.
Right.
A friend. I don't know. It might have been lazy spa what he had. And when it was plugged in, he could obviously touch the tap and the socket that it was plugged into, and didn't always push the lid. I presume he didn't always push the lid down firmly, because obviously you'd have to flick it back up afterwards.
Yeah.
It's a bit close, isn't it, compared to a swimming pool? I can't swim and touch a socket outlet.
It is, but that's a product, and that comes under a product standard because it's a portable whirlpool spa.
So it's all right.
It's down to the user to decide where that goes.
He
The
was a right
electrician,
melt, he was.
the electrician doesn't even come into play with that. They go to B&Q or wherever, come home and they can plug it in wherever they want. This is more aimed at the fixed hot tubs.
Right, good. So we got those, the flash ones that this person couldn't afford, the stationary ones, either wooden or plastic based. Okay, so there's a fixed pump in there, isn't there?
Yep.
Okay, in there. It's fixed, normally got isolators and things like that, main supply to it and all the rest of it. Okay, so that's where it applies to. Agreed?
That's where it can be applied to.
Okay, all right. Yeah, no worries. You'll be telling me next if I've got 1 foot on the grass and 1 foot in the tub, I'm going to have a pen fault problem, but we won't go there.
Yeah, not pen fault. Now, if any of your viewers are interested in this...
I've heard that, but you're not, are you? You're going to go there?
Not on a pen fault.
but
I'm
that's
going to
what
go
I've
into
heard.
normal working conditions.
Let's have normal working conditions.
So if any of your viewers are interested, I've wrote an article. If you go on Google and type in IET hot tubs, it'll be the top search. And
You must put IET in front of it, don't just put hot tubs.
yes. my concern is, whilst I know a lot of people are concerned about open pen faults, and certainly JPEL 64 are, hence the requirements in 722, but my concern is when you are looking at a PME network, depending on the balance of the network, you could end up with a voltage up to 18.4 volts on the pen conductor. That pen conductor is obviously connected to your protective conductor, which is connected to your hot tub, which you've got a heater element in the hot tub, which is in contact with the water. So basically the water is at PME potential and your foot is at true earth potential, which we consider to be 0 volts. So there could be 18.4 volts between you.
You wrote that paper?
I wrote, it wasn't a paper, it was a article for Wiring Matters, yes.
Wow.
So that's not under fault conditions, that's just under normal network conditions.
yes.
Depends on the load in the network, in the area, in balance.
Yes, the balance of it, that's the important part, not just the load.
But it's only
18.4 volts.
Well, I taught that 50 volts AC is the uncomfortable value, 120 and all the rest of it, and we want automatic disconnection, all the rest of it. Does that change when I start submersing my body? Because that wasn't in submersion.
Yes, massively. Yes, it really does. And then the other thing to take into account is a lot of people will say, oh, water's not conductive. But when you start looking at a hot tub with chlorine in there, if you start measuring resistances in there, you'll see that it really affects it and it makes it really conductive.
So I could be semi or partially submersed. Somebody else could be on the outside. I've got to grab them or hold them as they're coming in. Could there be enough to give us a tingle?
I believe so, yeah. It's my understanding that, yes, it's certainly above the threshold of perception, and it'd probably be getting towards the threshold of let go in some
Have you ever had a tingle in a hot tub?
I don't really use hot tubs that often. I do have a pool at home that we put up for the kids every year, but that's on a TT system.
Oh, right, okay, so no tingling
No.
in a hot tub. Okay, Gordon? Same question.
No, I have been in a hot tub. Not with
But you haven't any tingling?
Someone said a hot tub was a bath with friends. So there we go.
Oh, you've had one of them, have you? Never find his car keys when you go around his house?
I think you said
Right,
that.
okay.
I did see it earlier on. Where's it go? Bath Alan Chan. Yes.
Oh, he's in there?
Yeah.
Is he a hot tub fan?
Well, it must be.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. So we strayed a bit there, okay, away from where we are. So again, it's the fixed ones that's the issues. Lots of people install them, don't they? Lots of people are obviously out there because that's a nice installation thing.
Yeah. And
Ignore
if
that.
people been TTing them, is that the right solution, do you think, if this did go through? Was it
Obviously, there's lots of considerations. When we start thinking about TT, we then start thinking about striking underground services. It's then important where you put your electrode, because if it's too close to the PME electrode, you're just going to pick that up through there. So there's lots of considerations, but certainly that's the way I would be recommending to do it if possible. To get round the striking services issue, we can always use conjudis, dig down with an insulated spade. We don't have to strike rods anymore.
No. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Joe Hammond will pop round, he likes to dig a trench, not very deep, apparently.
But he got his earth electrode down to a very low reading. I can't remember what he
Did he?
got. Yeah, he put 3 in, I think, in the end.
Right, that's because he hit the gas pipe.
But he was never going to hit his cable because he could see it just there on the top. So, okay, so again, let them vote. So get the voting sheet up then. Is this one that we...
Do you want to accept that? Do you think, hot tubs are really swimming pools in disguise?
And blow-up ones are allowed, so we're all good. Us cheapos, we can't afford a fixed one.
Uh-huh.
It would be good to sort that out because it's been one of these.
It's dragging.
It's been dragging around for people putting all sorts of.
I will say that this is I'm working on 702 internationally at the moment, and it's actually in the scope of that. It's not a may, it's in. So not for this next amendment, but for the edition after, it's going to be probably in the scope.
We are going to get to people's comments. I'm sure Rick's been writing furiously back there to give him a bit of heads up that he should be writing furiously back there, because I will be coming to him just to see those comments. So if there's any great comments that Gordon's missed, I will be going to Rick in a short while just to see those comments. Okay.
Well, but sounds like it's coming home.
Yeah. We don't
on
write these.
Saturdays.
Oh, yeah, I do matches on Saturdays. Yeah, okay.
People seem to be generally yes on that one. Obviously, people, PME, I mean, TT, is that really the answer?
I think when water and electrics come together, people sort of have that, concise thinking.
Greg Gifford's installed 7 rods to get below 20 ohms. I hope they all weren't in one length. That could have been nearly down to the...
He started with them all
mantle.
together. It's on a really large scaffold as he started, trying to get me. I wonder if he used one of those sacrificial things that they can use with the old...
He did once do a video on that, didn't he?
Yeah. He did. We didn't see the end of that video. We saw part of that video. I think it was brilliantly edited. Let him comment.
Oh, right, yeah.
I can't remember
what it's called.
I think it was pretty hard there. He was trying to get it in. I think it was a great idea to use a bit of kit, but I think the non-soil that he was going through was a problem.
I must admit there are a few earth rods in my driveway.
Because you've had a problem as
well.
Yeah.
I tried to do the... Back in the EV charger, remember when we used to put earth rods in for EV chargers? Oh, back in the day.
Wonder if we'll ever say, remember when we used to have remote pen fault protection? No, we don't. Let's see if that one comes in. Right, where are we going next, Gordon?
People accepted that, especially Eddie with these religious pools.
Well done, Eddie, I would suggest there. I think he was also instrumental in removing the stuff about being able to look at the service equipment and make it a C1. So if the service head was smashed or the meter, well, there's nothing to do with us. I think he was instrumental in that as well. Yep. The guy's a legend, an absolute legend. So, yeah.
So anyway, generally accepted that one, and Craig Gifford did use the Earth Rod Pro.
Right, okay, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I haven't seen much since. But again, that was in a time when everyone was going to be fitting earth rods for EV chargers, and we went away from that. Have you actually used the condu disc? Have you used any?
No, I've seen lots of people use them.
Yeah. What's the cement as well? What's the
Marconite.
Macronite?
Or bentonite.
Bentonite. That sounds like something... We've got Superman coming.
Yeah, I was going to say, that'll kill Superman if it gets anywhere near that bentonite. The IET suggests it will kill Superman. What are we putting amongst the squirrels now? Oh, they love to fester on chestnuts. Right, okay, here we go. So... we're going for, I think, firefighter switches.
Oh, yeah.
No, get it right.
Get
it right. I've gone in there.
Switch. I used to like a firefighter switch. Something a long time ago used to be called a fireman switch, but now, obviously, firefighters. There you go.
Yeah, you've tried to get yourself out your 3 mistakes that are coming up. Yeah, okay. So firefighter switches, okay, I think we're all pretty comfortable with them, but we'll go through it anyhow.
So they used to be used for, obviously, neon signs. There was always the fireman switch by the door, because obviously a neon sign could operate at 10,000 volts AC.
Yeah, not a sprinkling bit of water on it.
And sometimes a few hundred milliamps, actually, on some of those bigger units, and it does hurt, I can tell you that.
From personal experience, of course.
Yeah, and obviously to switch the petrol pumps off is probably the only place you'll really see them used widely at the moment.
Yeah.
Is by a petrol pump, and that's regulated, isn't it? They have to have the fireman switch to knock the pumps off.
But now they're suggesting, after a fire risk assessment or a fire assessment, that not domestic, that other buildings could require one if the assessment suggests it, because of things such as solar and battery? Or
solar and battery are a really good example, actually. Yes, you might need. So at the moment, not particularly with firefighter switches, but what you'll find is on the forecourts, they're fitting solar arrays on the canopies, and because that cable runs into the building, if the fire alarm panel goes off, it needs to isolate every cable in the building, and it needs to be less than 20 microjoules, and the inverter manufacturers can't guarantee that, so they put a DC contactor on the canopy, controlled by not a firefighter switch, but controlled by the fire alarm panel to switch that out. But you could also do it manually with a firefighter switch too.
Right, and when you say forecourt, so we've got a combination of both solar and fuel. So not necessarily flogging cars. Okay.
Yes,
All right.
yes,
okay. So that makes sense. The mix is not good on that one. So that's a good example where it is. Now we had 2 great gentlemen from Ireland from the Insight podcast, and we come over and see us.
Yeah.
You remember their names, Gordon, any more than I can?
Yes.
Go on and go with it.
Not Keith.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah,
What's the other one?
Keith, I don't know. We'll be
They're both lovely gents. Yeah, I know we are. So I just wanted to know if you. What we got?
Have a look at the wall.
Stephen, Keith and Stephen. Yeah. Yes. So. Brilliant, and they said there was a bit of kit that they had to have in Ireland in the roof that automatically, I think, or something, turned it off.
Yeah.
Can we see ourselves, not necessarily with a fireman switch, maybe weaving our way, because you see a little bit earlier than us? Is any of our good friends in the EU that are not friends with us because we're in England, but are you coming in great ideas?
There's no discussion of that at international level that I'm aware of, but I'm only on 4 out of God knows how many maintenance teams. But we've certainly had discussions about that. We're not progressing that at the moment, but I personally don't think it'll be long before it's a requirement.
Again, just for our audience, and it's not about you, if solar's not new this week, 15 years ago there was a big boom in it. It seems that we dragged our feet on this one, doesn't it? Those early solar panels, we weren't worried about catching fire. and now all of a sudden, now we're adopting it a bit more, we're a little bit more worried. Well,
Yeah, well,
it's a bit odd.
Yeah, I think what happens is certainly with new technologies like solar is the products come out and the installation standards have to play catch up. And as we all know, working on international standards, just to give you an idea, I'm working on IEC 60364 Part 1 at the moment, and that document's been, which is the equivalent to our Part 1, our Part 1 and Part 3, and that document's been being worked on for 7 years so far. Wow. So.
Okay, all right. But again, that wasn't to go you, but again, 15 years ago when we had the feed-in tariff, we were still in stock. 15 years later is when it went again, we're doing the same trick again, aren't we?
I think there's two things. I think now you see insurance companies have been more involved in the process. So, they came up with the whole risk document for solar on commercial roof, put loads of things in there. That was they were pushing not to have isolators and things like that. So I think, and then even EV chargers, Zurich put one out for EV chargers that, said you can't mount the charger on the building in a pub, it should be remote from the building, away from the doors, similar to what we've heard in batteries. So I think the commercial building, you have to get insurance. Insurance company says you have to do X, Y, Z to get that insurance. I think that'll be the driver, and that's where it says the fire authority might require the facility to isolate parts of an electrical installation.
And is this up for debate or tweak?
This is up for debate, yeah.
Right, so it could be hoiked out.
Yes, yeah.
Again, it's not dwellings, so let's ignore dwellings. There's no whiff of it going on a dwelling or anything like that. I know other podcasts have suggested it might end up there and all the rest of it. I think they'll come up with a different solution if that is the case. But okay, it's on that more larger commercial buildings, solar battery, or route to turning it off. Okay.
Yeah, and I think Griff's in there. Obviously, yes, we're not going to be dragging out the tails or the leads from the battery to the fireman switch because they're not very big. We'll be triggering a contactor, and obviously there's a whole raft of regulations with contactors to provide isolation as well. So it's going to be, again, one of these interesting solutions, isn't it? So the fireman switch is just a control device, really.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Which not as it's originally intended for.
No, it used to be on neon when there was a big installation. It would
still go through a contactor.
Yeah, because the neon sign might be
some distance
away.
Okay.
I
think from memory, it's a long while ago since I've worked on a firefighter switch, but I think from memory, the last one that I did was a 20 amp rated.
They put them up high as well, don't they?
Yes.
Most accessories
2.7 metres.
It's an inside job. Clearly the manufacturers want them bringing back in because they're not selling them anymore.
And they've overstocked. You wait until they push pink in. Lewden will be behind that one then. Yeah, BEMA suggests that all blocks need to be pink for at least a period of 18 months. Right, okay, with that in mind, you might need to ask our audience.
Fireman switches, do you think that's a good idea or a bad idea? You want to accept that into the regulations or not accepted? There we go. So that's... do you want the insurance company meddling in your installations, telling you what you have to do? Oh,
right, just pitch it like that. That's the closing argument. Don't listen to him, okay?
No, I think in places like Germany, the US, they have requirements to do that. And obviously, the thing with solar panels, once you haven't got rid of the actual hazard from the roof, you've just stopped the current flow. Which, if the fire's already started...
Like I said, premature collapsing and those cables really dear to everyone's heart, all of a sudden we give these firefighters even more things to worry about as they go in. Let's see what we can do to help them.
Where's the switch? Is that the
We've made it worse anyway. We come up with solar panels and they come up with this lovely product called PV Stop that they can spray on the panels to stop the voltage, and now we've come up with bifacial panels, so we just keep making it more difficult for them.
Bless them. Okay, so hopefully people are voting for that one. We'll have a little look in there. We're chewing through our list here. So where would you like to go now on solar? We're still in solar, Gordon. Because we're going to be looking at, obviously, dual sources of supply, aren't we? And this can cause issues, can't it?
Yeah, we are. I'm just waiting for some results.
Well, we've got to talk because that's people watching their telly at home with nothing happening. Come on, just keep gibbering on. Let's talk about Star Wars.
Well, let's start with low voltage generating sets. So there you go. Talk us through these few changes here. Michael.
This is where I've got to get my memory going.
Yeah.
So we got 551.7.2. Well, before we get into this, we'll just touch on 551.7.1 if that's okay. There's been a couple of changes there. So the first change is it's no longer acceptable to supply a low voltage generating set by a split load board. So if you've got a split load RCD, you can't use a split load RCD whatsoever. And the reason for that is if you get a fault and the RCD trips, the theory is that the PV inverter could still be supplying the other circuits on that RCD and the split load board.
So, okay, let's make it nice. So, old split load board, my mum's got an old split load board, I go in now and I'm thinking to myself, I can fit an MCB and I know that is unidirectional. So I'm all right. I'm thinking I'm all right.
Bidirectional.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, sorry. Apologise. I nearly got it there. It's bidirectional, so I'm happy. I'm in. Right. Okay. I put it in. All of a sudden now I'm feeding back. At the same time, the socket circuit gets themselves an RCD fault to trip off the RCCB.
Yep.
But there could be, even if it's a momentary lapse in time, that circuit not disconnected, and therefore ADS might not apply and disconnect in the required time, or energise the circuit for a split second longer than needed?
Yes, and people might say, but an inverter has to trip out in PV inverter has to trip out in 0.5 seconds, which is correct to the new G98, but some of the older inverters, the maximum disconnection time was for 2.5 seconds.
So 0.4 has gone out the window?
Yes, basically.
Okay, well, makes it, and again, it goes back to it. Maybe that consumer unit's life has lapsed, hasn't it? So that's that one. So we can't fit them in, even though we've got a bi-directional MCB, which I'll edit in later on.
Yes.
I've got that one right. Thank you very much. So yeah, even though the MCBs,
installers are doing.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah,
no, I know they are. So, but again, is it in today?
No.
But really, stop doing it.
Yes, definitely.
If you know there's a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So it's not in. Going to get in. Let's just suggest that one's going to get in. Okay, but again, so if you're doing it at the minute, look at that board and think to yourself, just put one by the side of it.
Yep.
But there might be another solution because there's another problem coming, isn't there?
There is. We'll get to that. The next part in 551.7.1 is just to clarify what we've already spoke about in Amendment 3, so using bidirectional protective devices, although the wording is likely to change because since we put it in here, we've obviously gone through the DPC process and we've gone away from the term taking account of the direction of power flow. We've gone away from that, so that'll likely, well, it will align with what we've got in Amendment 3. Yep. And then we move on to 551.7.2, and that's now been split into two parts. So we've now got 551.7.2.1, and basically what that's saying is it requires the generator set to be on, and I don't like the word in here, and this is a good suggestion for your viewers to put a comment on this because I think this is really complicated for people to understand. It says, requires the generating set to be installed on the supply side of all of the protective devices. Well, what it actually means is it needs to be on its own circuit. So you can't put the supply on another circuit.
Ah, okay. Well,
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
When you look at that one, you'd have been... So again, just a quick one there. You said in Germany you could feed into a circuit on them balcony solar.
Balcony solar.
So they strap them around the balcony, plug it into the sockets and feed back in. So that's a whiff of what we can't do that. You can't feed into an original circuit.
As it stands in the regs today, in the Brown Book, we can. And the requirements are, if we do that, we need to size the cable to suit. So let's just say, not that you would do it this way, but let's just say, for argument's sake, we've got a 32 amp ring circuit, and you're going to bring in a 16 amp PV circuit into that. You would need to size that ring circuit to take 48 amps, not the 32.
Okay.
And that leads very nicely on to the next part, 551.7.2.2. which this is all about the rated current of low voltage switchgear and assemblies, i.e. consumer units. This is a little drawing that, I'll be honest, I had to do myself in order to understand it myself because I felt reading the words was quite complicated. So if we look there, we've got a consumer unit rated at 100 amps. We've got the DNO cutout at the top, also rated at 100 amps. And then we've got the PV inverter rated at 16 amps. So effectively, we could be pulling 116 amps through that consumer unit, and it's only rated at 100 amps.
Okay, we're going to ignore fusing factors for anyone puts it in there. We're going to go just with this, okay, as we've gone through. Makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah, that enclosure, however rare it would be, has only been designed to carry 100 amps. It's going to cause a problem. Now, what if you're in a really lucky position? I've got a friend who had a 100 amp fuse, and then they took it away when they took his smart meter, installed his smart meter, took his 100 amp away and put an 80 in. So if I replace that with 80, and this gentleman might be lucky enough to have solar, he'd be right, wouldn't he?
It's absolutely fine, yeah.
I've come up roses.
Yeah.
Come up roses.
Yeah, there's no problem with that at all.
But that's the usual scenario. We want more current, not less, don't we?
Yes, and the equation at the top there, the INA, is the rated current of the assembly. IN is the rated current of the cutout fuse, and that needs to be greater than the cutout fuse and the generator, basically.
Okay, which, yeah, so nice and easy. You can clearly see there, pictorially, that's unacceptable.
Yeah.
Okay, so is there a workaround if that is what you've got?
Yes, yeah, there is. Now, this is another one that's shown incorrectly because, as you can see there, whilst we've connected, we haven't connected the PV inverter upstream of the protective device, so we can still get 116 amps to that consumer unit.
So we broke out, so meter towers have come in. We've got a set of meter towers out of a Henley block, not pink, but out of a Henley block, which are also made by other companies. Henley is a make of those blocks, isn't it? Yeah, okay. So a terminal block there, and we've gone into consumer unit and gone into a separate consumer unit for the solar, which lots of people are saying is good practice because it gets us away from all the other problems that we've suggested. We've still got that problem.
Yes, we have, unfortunately.
Okay,
yes.
so if you're doing that now, I'd say it's better than the other two solutions, but it's still not good enough, is it?
No, it's not, no.
Okay, and we think we might have recommended that as well. So that's not good because you can still 116 amps in the board.
Yeah.
Can you solve it for me?
Yeah, there's several ways you can solve it. So you've already come up with one way of solving it. Another way of solving it could be to replace your friend's consumer unit with a 125 amp device.
So, okay, that's a good point. So is that an easy thing for manufacturers to have? So if their consumer's rated 100 amps, how hard would it for us to say it's rated 125? And that's only if you've got a smaller array. Remember, you can get larger. Yeah, so it becomes a bigger problem as you move forward, doesn't it?
Becomes a bigger job, yeah.
Is it a difficult thing to get a board rated 125 amps?
No. If you look at, probably best not name manufacturers, but when you start looking at Type A distribution boards as opposed to consumer units, they've been 125 amp for many years.
So those ones I used to clip the door and lean it down. They were
those grey ones. Yeah.
Is that where your mind went?
Yes.
Yeah,
they've been 125 amp forever.
Okay.
Yep.
The Merlin Giron you took home from work.
No. I must remember the.
Similar.
Yeah. Okay, so that's great. So I don't know how quick the manufacturer is going to move on giving us a board because it might not end at. Imagine you were more than 16 amps.
Well, we've got solar residential, it's got 16 kilowatt inverter on a single phase.
Right,
Yeah.
okay.
So, they're probably going to want to charge the batteries off peak, off the grid at the same time as they're charging the car, running the induction hob.
Oh, wow.
So
maybe those distribution boards that we saw in Wales all them years ago, they solved all the problems, haven't they?
Three phase,
yeah.
Future.
It's the future. Right, is there another solution?
Someone's raised a fair point there. Yeah.
Bon?
What's the rating of the Henley blocks?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Now, it's something that I did question.
Get up early in the morning to catch Sergio Fernandez out.
Yeah, it's something that I did question, but this applies to low voltage switchgear and assemblies, and that's not a low voltage switchgear and assembly. In fact, before. When I did that drawing originally, I'd called that a buzz bar, but then I thought I'd be confusing things by calling it a buzz bar, so I thought I'd go straight back to a Henley block.
Now, this has solved it.
Yes, this solves it, because what we need to do is we need to supply the generator. Before we start, we need to install a protective device, an overcurrent protective device, upstream of the consumer unit. As you can see there, that could be a fuse or a circuit breaker. And then the other thing that we need to do is also install the generator upstream of that fuse. So now the generator, as you can see, is coming through that fuse, and so is the
and when you say fuse, that is, we're looking at the drawing, it's the left-hand side above the consumer unit. We've inserted a new fuse or circuit breaker rated exactly the same as the incoming DNO's cutout fuse at 100 amps. So we're not worried about selectivity on that, so we couldn't care less.
Nope.
But by doing that, we've now held the rating of the consumer unit at the rated value of the second one up, circuit breaker or fuse.
Yes. So we've got overload coordination again. That's what we're looking for.
Ignoring fusing factors.
Yes, because
we don't have that in anyhow, do we?
No, we shouldn't be you shouldn't be relying on a fuse to provide overcurrent protection. That should be the designer's responsibility to ensure that it can't go over that. Now, I appreciate when you've got socket outlets, that becomes very difficult because you can't control what's going to be plugged in. But
so it's there for short circuit protection.
It's there for fault protection. Yes, short circuit protection.
Okay,
yeah, in particular the DNO fuse. They're not useful at all for overload protection.
Because that's what people quite rightly would say. Well, I've got apart from the Henley block one, which you got out of, but that's what people would jump in.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'd suggest maybe doing that from now moving forward. Especially forewarned, forearmed.
Yes,
you see the problem. Yeah, you created a problem that you didn't realise was there before.
Yes.
So summarise that one then, Phil Gordon. Plastic consumer units, split load. So I'm thinking of that's where they were. Split load Boards, absolutely no. If we go for a metallic consumer unit, we've got to make sure that we allow for the fact that it's going to be taking more current. So the best solution is either have 80 or 60 amp cutout fuse. When you're increasing your current, it's not a great idea. Or the arrangement on that slide. Now, I would suggest to people, if you have got, go back and screenshot it. So you give yourself that moment, so you got it on your phone, just think, oh, that reminded me of that one.
Griff thinks there's a regulation that gets around it. 712, is that right? Looking here.
All right, okay, well, we're going to have to keep talking.
We're the number geeks here now, weighing in.
I'll have to look at that in my own time.
He's going to look at
Text you tomorrow, Griff.
Well, what I suggest to this Griff character is he makes his comments, okay, and sees and gets them in. So whoever this Griff character is, put your comments in and see if you can get it kicked out, my old throat.
I think it's worth pointing out, although the drawing that we had on the screen shows the fuse or circuit breaker upstream, you could actually, let's say you consumer had a double pole main switch in there, you could actually take that out and you could replace that with a 2-pole circuit breaker. So you wouldn't even have to put another device upstream, and I personally think that would be a better solution.
Before someone puts in there, by changing that, have you been type tested for that enclosure, and would it be okay?
You've got that to deal with.
Crying out for innovation, Gary.
It is crying out.
So we've seen in Europe before, that's a normal thing that they do, is put a circuit breaker as the main switch.
Yeah, it's madness.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just solves the problem, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So if a manufacturer wanted to keep their 100 amp enclosure, change the 100 amp main switch for a circuit breaker.
Yeah.
Jobs are good.
Yeah.
And let's push our good friends at these places just to get on with it. Yeah.
Or increase the current of the bus bar.
Yeah.
Type test them.
Yeah. But again, wouldn't it be quicker just do the first thing, what we just suggested? That's an instant replacement.
You can get 100 amp in a standard 2-pole. I think they're a little bit wider.
Sounds like their problem.
Sounds like their problem, Gary.
Okay, we've given the idea. I'm willing to take a small royalty on every consumer unit sold, thanks to me.
There you go.
Well, you're welcome. That's Rick's line. Okay, so is that cleared us up? That's a difficult one. Now, we want people to vote on that one. Now, this is an audience one. This is our meat and 2 veg, that is. So put the slide up then. We'd like you to vote on this one, accepted or not accepted. Well,
there's a raft of regulations in that one, isn't there?
Yeah,
so
but again, I think...
change.
Yeah, it is. But again, I don't think there's any in there that... Yeah, well, Griff is, this Griff character. I'd like to meet him one day who wants to chip in against it.
He might know a bit about it, but we'll see.
Does he?
Well,
he's watching some random guys on YouTube. He can't know that much. Yeah, he's in there. Yeah, he knows more than this. He ought to come on and do his own segment. Brilliant. I really enjoyed that section. That's my kind of section, that was. Yeah. Okay, where we go next?
Zero Electrical's in and accepted it already.
Good lad. There you go. That's fine.
Yeah.
There
you go.
Well done. We like him.
We've still got the photographs, haven't we?
Yeah, the compromat.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Face down in an Irish pub.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, everyone's accepting that one.
Yeah. All right, okay, that's good. Yeah. Well, that was the 10 we were going to originally go. Shall we have a word with the Comments Corner, see if there's anything in Comments Corner before we carry on?
Well, there is, because there's one big one that you love next.
Oh, no, we're going to, but again... So
I mean, that could really put the rabbit amongst the owls, that one.
It could. So let's bring in Rick. I'll take the camera if that's easier for you then, Rick. So we're going over Comments Corner. Is there anything glaring out there, or do you want to just give us a feedback of the comments, Rick? Has there been plenty of comments, first of all?
There's been plenty of comments. Interacting with the accepting and not accepting. Everybody's been chipping in that way, yeah.
And is there anything that's glaringly people are rowing against vigorously? Is there the one thing in there you'd like to suggest?
No, I mean there's been a couple of comments. I mean, early doors, Sergio had asked about the minimum depths. What's he put here? When will the minimum depth for a cable be buried to 600 deep for a domestic dwelling?
Okay, we can cover that.
And also Gifford.
Craig, by the way. So we like to use the first name only, Mr. Gifford.
Yeah, he's used bentonite for his installation before, and he was very happy with 17 ohms.
All right, okay, that's good, especially if that's saved him a lot of digging or hammering or loss of things into the ground. Right, okay, we're back over it. It's really good. Oh, right, okay. Yeah, we've saved probably the best one to last, probably your favourite one as well, as we come through. Keep the comments coming in. I know, obviously, Rick's had a night off. I think he's been listening to this rather than writing, I would suggest. That's why twice he looked at me and was going, don't come to me. That's why we came to him. Yeah, the rule is on this show, don't say something you don't want to do, because that's coming out straight away. Right, so as we go through the 11th one, okay, this one's probably dear to your heart. I think it's a smash and a home run. We're going to be talking about EICRs, okay, and how many people have thrown a FI in. And you suggested what it could... Oh, I think I suggested what that could stand for. So FIs, and then it was holding up, wasn't it? That electrical installation condition report, putting a big stop on it. Just remind us at the moment, if I put an FI on an installation condition report, what does that mean to the customer?
Well, that's a really good question. Depends on who's writing the report, really. What it means to the customer is, ultimately, they've got to pay the electricians to do more to give them the result that they'd asked them to do in the first place.
Right, okay.
To me, there shouldn't be any need. And if we look at Electrical Safety First Best Practice Guide 4, you'll see that there's no examples of FI in there, because they're saying certainly for domestic, although I carry that further and say it applies to commercial and industrial too, there shouldn't be any reason to give an FI. What a lot of people are doing is they're for whatever reason, they're putting an FI where really they should be excluded in the extent of installation covered by this report,
right,
or agreed, or an operational limitation. And that they're putting it in FI for whatever reason. It was never the intention when FI went in for it to result in an unsatisfactory. It's just something that's happened.
Right, okay, so that's evolved into the beast it was, almost the get cash out the customer card, okay? And, I said that, not you, that's fine. So what is it going to be now, if we get it in?
Let's see.
So
Let's have a look
got
at
it,
the
got the slide up there, we've got the screen. Joe's gone toilet, by the way, so now all of a sudden we're randomly flicking through screens.
My screen, Rick.
So, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. That's it. There you go.
Been at the desk 60 seconds. Here we go. Okay, so go on.
Yep. Upon completion of the periodic inspection and testing of an existing installation, an electrician condition report based on the model given Appendix 6 shall be produced taking into account of the notes for the person producing the report provided in Appendix 6.
Yeah, the biggest change we've really made apart from the FI, is we've made a couple of tweaks to Chapter 65. We've basically said, pointed you out in the direction of including taking account of the notes for the person producing the report, and we've also said that you need to issue guidance for the recipients with the report. We've also made lots of minor changes, I would say, to the notes for the person producing the report and the recipient. Again, the biggest change is the FI code. And what we've done is, where previously on the observation section, you would just have one observation section and you would list all of your codes in there. Now we've split it into two sections, clearly to show that C1 and C2s will result in an unsatisfactory result, but C3s and FIs won't.
Like your school report.
Yes.
So you got the bit in here, Johnny needs to work on this, or Sue needs to work on that, and then the nice bits at the bottom.
Yes.
Yeah, you're all right. So if you get two blank boxes, you've had a good school report.
Yes, I liken it to a car MOT, and I like to say that they're advisories at the bottom.
Okay.
Just bring that back on screen, Jeff. We've
So-
got what that looks like.
There we go.
Lovely,
So,
yeah.
And it's at the very bottom there, obviously, the word for FI now says recommended.
Yes.
So we can get a success. So if I get all my C1s and C2s tidied up,
Yep.
and I've got a couple of C3s and allegedly maybe not any FIs, but if we add some in there, we're still going to get, we're back in running.
Yes, if you remember previously, it said further investigation required without delay.
Yeah.
So.
And people used to use that one. So I've got a good example. I sat somewhere once, I can't remember where it was, and they said, we're going to try and code these different things. And they said, bonding conductor not found to, say, gas and water. And then people were coding that, and they said, oh, it could be insert code, but it could be FI.
Yeah.
So it could be just, you've got, because it could be plastic, all the rest of it. And you just think, if it was only you couldn't find it, you could measure it or whatever, and then all of a sudden that FI's, you're sending you back, taking cupboards off the wall and trying to look for a clamp.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's being done purposely, but the FI code, I've done lots of research into this, and the FI code is being really abused. I mean, one of the examples that I found, which is probably a really good one actually, someone bearing in mind that we shouldn't be looking at smoke detectors other than the wiring on a eICR, that's a different report. Someone had put on there, the smoke detector date is out of date, and put FI. And it's just, that's never an FI. It's not even worthy of being put on the report, in all honesty. But I don't mind things like that being put on there, providing it's clear to the customer it's not part of the EICR.
And again, the guidance notes for you popped up there. It's completely free, isn't it? Free to download.
ESF BPG4, yes, it is free. Yep.
Yeah.
And
so again, that's probably your first document to go and get if you want to brush up on it, or you're new to it. And you'll see in there, like I said, FI is completely missing, so they're ahead of the curve.
Yes, and what I will say about, I mean, there's lots of guidance out there for EICRs and coding. What I will say about the ESF guidance is, if you look in the front of that document, there's a list of all the organisations that contribute to that. There's all of the certification scheme bodies, there's the IET, there's the manufacturers, lots of people. So it's not just one organisation's view. We all lock ourselves in a room and we argue and fight, and we don't publish in that book until we, I wouldn't say all agree, but we've got consensus.
Okay. All right, that's
Take some doing on a committee.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's bring the committee in.
Yeah. So again, lots of yellow on there. So if you bring it back in, lots of yellow on there. Anything else to worry about on there? Obviously, we know you split it. Is that what we're just saying with the yellow sections there? We've split out C1. We'll split out C2 as well, won't we?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's exactly the same other than that, and apart from the change at the bottom where it's gone from required to recommended.
Okay, so again, we'd love the thoughts, wouldn't we?
Yeah, and then a little note, we just bring that back in there, Joe, some of the ones. A note that photographs or thermographic images can be added to support observations.
Yes.
About freehand sketches.
I think anything that supports the report you could put in there. What I don't want to happen here, what my concern is here, is that people are going to think they can just take photographs and put them in the report and not do any writing. And that
You have to explain the photograph to someone who might not be fully aware of it.
Yes, to a layperson, yes, definitely. And you should write the report in that language so a layperson can understand it.
Yeah. A lot of it depends how you take the photograph. Well, you can make anything look terrible, can't you?
Yeah. Perhaps all our data. Their videos. I'd say videos can go in as well, can't they?
Yeah. Any evidence.
I think a lot of these things that support it digitally use the ability to drop videos in and photos, don't they? If you're not using model forms, which is people's choice. That's normally a paid subscription to do that. I think there's nothing wrong with you doing a Dropbox or anything like that. That's probably got and I'm going to get it in because he's already done one. Oh, if that's yours, that one.
I couldn't possibly comment.
I bet you can comment. All you got to do is go to scan the QR code. If you scan that QR code, Michael, you can comment. Don't put yourself down. It's not above and beyond. You've got it in you. So
I will be doing.
So if you scan that QR code, you can join the process. Okay, we're not ending these unending words, but you can scan that QR code and go through, and we've shortcutted you in there. Failing that, if you Google search, remind me how I Google it in.
Just go to Google, type in BSI Standards Development Portal. It'll be the top search, and it'll bring you to the page before this, and there's a search bar just like that one at the top, right in the middle of the page. Don't confuse it by typing in BS7671 and all the 2000 and all that goes with it, because it probably won't find it if you put that.
That's where I was going wrong.
Yeah, be as loose as possible and just put in 7671.
Or you can click in the link in the description.
No.
Or in the comments. I did pin it in there. We'll pin it as a comment as well when we're finished as well.
Yeah, incredibly easy.
We've done 11. We said we'd do 10. We've done 11. There's a load of others we could go into.
Yeah.
But we have been on for 2 hours.
Have we really?
Yes.
That's frightening, because I promised you we'd do an hour and a half as well today. So we're nailing this at an hour and a half. Okay, so things like the cable zones, again, explaining those, there's going to be a sort of I don't want to say, sort of a chart that says if it's this and this, yes, if it's that and that, no, it's this, that, and the other, no. Just whether you need an RCD, whether you're at the right depth to emit the RCD. Does the circuit already need an RCD, regardless of depth?
Yeah.
I'm presuming they're in there. And they did suggest that that's for apprentices. First time I ever heard that in BS7671. I would suggest it's a guide for everyone.
Yeah, the requirements haven't changed at all. We've just put it into a format that's, some people were struggling to interpret, and they were reading it as though, even if they were using armoured cable, they still needed an RCD. Yeah. So we've just tried to clarify that, really, just tidy it up a bit.
We have. Yeah. Now, we've spoke to Rick, and we're still looking for people to help Rick. So Rick's on...
Rent a Rick.
Yeah, rent... Yeah, careful. Yeah. Yeah, we've had other examples of Rent and Rick, but it's Rent and Rick. So we're still looking for Rick. Obviously, he's done the solar job here with Ross, so that's part of his evidence, which was fantastic. He done that with him. He'll have to take the photographs for his evidence. He'll have to get witness statements for his evidence, and he'll have to write up the fact he's done those jobs. But there are loads of other things he wants to touch, and we need him to get away from us. So even though that job... In a nice,
we've had him on the roof for a week, Gary.
But again, we need him away. But we need him out there in the wild. If you're working in the North Yorkshire area or surrounding areas, Leeds, etc., Bradford, and all the rest of it, or it's a special project that we can parachute him in on, we're prepared to release him down there for a meaningful amount of time in order for him to get the skills. Reach out to us via the website. There's an email address on our website. You can find Rick on Instagram as eFIXX Rick if you want to directly message him from there. You can find Rick on LinkedIn as... He's called Richard Gaunt on there. So who's this Richard character?
Don't know. I think he's an electrician from Bradford.
Yes, he is. Yeah,
he's Gaunt Electrical Services.
We could get a photo. Rick's obviously trying to start his own up, use his name and all the rest of it, done mild research, and then a Rick Gaunt or Richard Gaunt drove past him Electrical Services this morning just to wind him up. It is, you couldn't find him for... And where's he at? The Bradford area, isn't he? That's pretty local, isn't it? Imagine the 50-50 split on work with him. Be all right at the start when you're taking 50% of his, but when you build your business up...
Already on your manor.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's that. So Rent-A-Ricks are available as well as we go through. We've had a fantastic time. The one thing we haven't done is give you your shirt, and you never got one last time.
I didn't.
You said you were going to bring me a shirt, but we thought better of it, didn't we? So, like any good football manager, we're going to present you with your eFIXX top, okay, so there we go. Look, as seen on eFIXX TV, it's the only way you can get one is to come on it. So
excellent.
You can't get two of those, though, so anyone coming back and doing the RJ45, there is only one available.
Yeah.
In one size, oversized.
Yes,
it's too big.
Definitely fits me.
Yeah, well, no, I would imagine it's going to be loose. So, yeah, we've got to get some more of those.
It's already got warehouse lighting in halls. There you go.
Yeah, go, perfect. Absolutely perfect. Whoever that is.
Griff.
Oh, brilliant, yeah. Reach out, it's that Griff character again. I can meet him at last, can I? Put him right on the regs.
Well, he should know
See what he knows. Lock him in a room with me. Yeah, brilliant. Okay, so that's that. Any tidying up?
Tidying up to do, obviously, we've got loads of things coming up, loads on solar, battery storage. So we've been through that journey. We'll be sharing that out soon.
Yeah.
We've got some stuff on the smart, on the public charge point payment regulations, which I'm sure everyone's been dead keen to know about. But if you're fitting EV chargers, is important.
Classic CPD's coming as well on solar and battery. Got a CPD, full CPD on that. Got a full CPD on starting testing. So we're doing a testing series ready for those people returning to college or brushing up their skills towards their 2391. We've split that out into, so I'd say easy, medium and hard, I would suggest on those if you want to go down there. So student, electrician, advanced. So we've got that CPD coming. There's plenty of stuff. We've got tons of content waiting to be dropped, haven't we? We just want to get over the sticky summer period where people tend to be on holidays.
Loads coming up, and we had a parcel in the post this week,
know
Gary,
who it's from,
and we don't know who it's from, and we don't know what it is.
No,
Any idea what that's for?
So we've got this. Okay, if we can bring the right camera in, and I can get in shot. We've got this. We think this is the keeper for the magnet on the top, even though it does look like it could be used for something else. It's got a whiff of Eddy Currents, okay, but I don't know. So that was sent to me with no letter. I've got no clue what that is. And I probably showed half of it in the shot because I weren't looking at the screen. So again, if you have sent me that in, get a hold of Rick on the usual social media. Richard Gaunt, find out him on LinkedIn.
Yeah, that well-known electrician in Bradford.
But yeah, he's going to get loads of work. Okay. Or asked to come along and give up his time. So that's great. So if Griff can, follow that one through with Griff, Rick. Yeah, Rich. Yeah. Richard. Mr. Gaunt. And then that's that. Next time out, who we got next time?
Next time out, we've got Hager, where we're looking at some challenges in 3-phase.
Oh, good job you carried that sentence on.
Yes, so that'll be fun. Team from Hager, obviously, with some...
is that Paul Chaffers coming?
It is. He's one of them. 2 Pauls, I think it's 2 Pauls.
Oh, they're very technical. So if you want to carry on the technical discussion, but I don't think we're going to get any higher level than you. I think we've matched you before. I think Graham Kenyon's been in and that Griff character's been floating around. But Michael, it's been an absolute pleasure. You've been, I think I've learnt more now than maybe I did on some of the other cars. And we've watched 3 today, haven't we, Gordon, to try and unpack this?
It has, yeah. And obviously, thanks for everyone for joining us. There's been a huge crowd on tonight. Loads of regular viewers in there. Loads of people in there with the comments. I'm sure there's loads of stuff to follow up on. And obviously, as I say, everyone, if you really want to fight something, it's a great idea. You've got a better idea. It's time to put your suggestions in, because otherwise we'll be sat in a. So what dates are due to come out? Did we say 26?
26.
26.
Yes.
So.
And the more comments we get, the better the book will be, without a doubt.
3rd of August.
Yeah, otherwise we'll all be sat here in 2026 complaining about all these changes.
And it's like politics. If you don't vote, you can't complain.
That's it.
Of course you can. Of course you can complain.
Yes, of course.
So on that bombshell, okay, hopefully with no hamsters amongst the pigeons, we're going to leave you for 2 more weeks when we're back with the Hager gang. So that should be incredible. So see you in 2 weeks. Thank you ever so much, especially if you'd started this and finished it. Thank you.